Okay, we will call the meeting to order and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll do a formal roll call since this is all so new. We'll start with you, Jim, and then we'll just go down the...
Jim McMaster is here.
Jason Fields.
Matthew Smith, here.
Nick Conan.
Brandon Slider.
Okay, we are all here and accounted for.
I gotta say, this is a very exciting day to have new board members. I know what it was like when we first got elected, and I'm really excited to have you guys on the board.
Thank you.
Okay?
Yeah.
Truly.
Thank you, Jason. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So, jumping right in, we will do our appointment of board officers. We have 3 officers. We will start with president. That's the person who gets to throw this around.
I will tell you guys this. I've been on this board for only 2 years, and I have had the honor of working with Jim McMaster and my buddy sitting right next to me. And I tell you what, I am good with whoever you guys want to nominate. But truly, we've had 2 years in which we have had great leadership here, working here at CPRD, and you know, I would like to.
Gonna nominate somebody?
Yeah.
Well, can I point out that this board, my short time here, and I know the board has changed in composition, but I just want to appreciate that it seems like it's been very collegial and people have been working well together. And from a staff perspective, having folks work well together, for the officers kind of helping get those out in the open, that's greatly appreciated. So thank you, Matt, for acting as the president for this board, and for all of the board members for working together, which is one of the purposes of tonight's meeting, particularly with some of the strategic planning that we're going to talk about. So then I'll let you guys jump back into it, but I just wanted to put my 2 cents in there.
Thank you. I would like to nominate Matt for president. And do I have a second?
I'd like to nominate Jim McMaster for president.
We have a
Okay.
motion on the floor, so we'll have to look for a second first, and then we can start.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Do we have a second on Matt?
I'll second me, I guess.
So we've got a
We have a motion and a
motion
second.
and a
so
second.
We can have discussion or a vote.
So I will say this. It doesn't matter which one of us guys truly is the president, okay? Whether it is Jim McMaster, which I am honestly happy to have as our president, or whether it's Matt. I will say I've served with Matt for 2 years, and Matt has done an incredible job keeping us on task, and it doesn't matter whether it was Brandon that was going to be our president. So I'm ready to take a vote. What would you guys like to do?
Is there any other discussion? On the motion?
Do you have anything to say about it?
Not much. I think Matt has done an excellent job as president. I think I'll probably vote for Jim. I think he has more experience than
Okay.
anyone in this room.
Okay.
But not to take away from Matt's last
Okay.
2 years of being an excellent president.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, then that means if there's, then let's just, I will pull my deal. Okay? So let's go on to go ahead, Brandon.
Yeah, I'll nominate Jim McMaster for president.
Okay? Well, then, you know what?
Yeah, we do have a motion and a second, so I do believe
So-
we have to.
I think,
He said,
point of order. I think that Don was pointing out that the seconder needs to agree to the motion being withdrawn.
Okay.
Okay. I do agree to withdrawing the motion.
So, okay, so we have a,
We now, if you want to restate.
Are we good? now?
Yeah.
Okay,
Go
so
ahead.
I'll nominate Jim McMaster for president.
all
And I'll
right,
second that.
okay, well, I think, is there any discussion? As far as I can say, I will say, Jim, I think you'll do a great job for us.
Thanks, we have to take a vote.
Yeah. So,
Any other discussion on this motion before we vote? Okay. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
I
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay.
imagine that. This is the first time that I've been here that it was a unanimous decision.
Okay, moving right along.
I'm gonna nominate,
You get that?
I get to do
And
this
now
now.
you get to go to number 2.
So I'd like to nominate Nick as vice president.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Last but not least is secretary treasurer, and that position is mostly symbolic. You do a lot of signing and so on and so forth, but you don't have to keep the books.
I nominate Matt as treasurer.
Is that something that you want?
I will do it if asked. Yeah.
Hey, guys, the best part about this whole thing is we are a team here, okay?
You're a cheerleader today, man.
This is the facts, okay? This is not a us against them. This is we are a team to do the best job for Yamhill County that we can possibly do. I think we've got a great group of people here, so we'll keep this thing moving forward.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table.
I'll second it. I'm first. I guess somebody else has got to second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Well, discussion.
We need a second.
I don't
I'm
think
the,
we have a second.
I'm the first. Who's the second? Nobody wants Matt as treasurer?
I'll second
Thank
it.
you.
But discussion-wise, Matt, do you want the position? Your reaction when you were nominated wasn't very positive.
Yeah, I'll do the position.
But do you want to do it? I guess.
Yeah.
And I guess my question would be, Jason, are you interested in the position at all?
That's why I nominated Matt for it.
Okay. And it's fine. Brandon, do you have any interest in the position?
I'm here to serve, so
Yeah.
at this point, I'm most interested in kind of the group decision.
Okay?
Is we have a second? Do we have a vote for this then?
Yep. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I
Okay. Before we move on, I just want to, say to Matt, and I appreciate your leadership on the board as far as running the meetings. They did a great job. And there's going to be a turnover continuously in this position. So we still have, when we make decisions, no matter what they are, there's going to be a vote. And so we all get to play that game. So appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, now we have appointment to internal CPRD positions on the table. And these are basically positions where if there's a personnel issue that the superintendent needs help with the budget, is the financial, the personnel. Recreation programming is an exciting position. And you get to play games and work with Julie and work in that part of the program. And then Parks and Development is the one where you get down in the weeds and work with repair, replacement, and development. So those are the three there. For those that are interested, let me know. First is financial and personnel. Who might be interested in that?
Do we have an
Brandon?
explanation on some of the kind of the responsibilities other than just general?
Sure. So some of the things that be called into order. So for example, when we were absent a permanent superintendent recently, the folks that were the leads for finance and personnel, they were called on to help more often. And I can tell you that the staff really appreciated having some board members to go to and speak with in those certain times. Or if there's a personnel issue that's related to the superintendent as an individual, then those board members are there to assist staff potentially as well. So those are the sorts of things where it becomes important. And if it gets into the situation where we're also getting into budget season, the superintendent or anyone that's working together wants some outside expertise or a second set of eyes, all of a sudden there are people we can go to. So think of that in terms of, that's intended to be internal support for the organization.
Sure.
And then that kind of trickles down, just like Jim was saying, recreation programming. If we're thinking about new program approaches or other things, and maybe we want a board member as someone who's invested in CPRD but is not a staff member, or those sorts of things, then we can have someone to dialogue with. And then the Parks and Development, think about those active capital projects as well as those repair and replace projects. So it could be playground replacements, it could be the new skate park rehabilitation. If we need to talk to and need some extra bandwidth on stuff, then it's good to have a point. So if anyone's got interest in the activities we deliver versus the spaces that we provide versus the stability of the organization, the finances and the personnel, those are the three spaces.
Got it. I don't know. I mean, you guys feel free to share which ones you're most interested in. Is it one
Brandon, I'm
person?
gonna put you on the
I was just gonna-
Finance and Personnel Committee.
Okay.
And there could be two people on each one of these committees.
Okay.
So to move things along,
Sure.
recreation programming, anybody?
I'd be interested in that.
Hey, Nick. Parks and Development, hey, Matt. And you don't even have to do it if you don't want.
No, I want to be, we're going on to.
No,
the
we're not
next
there
thing.
yet.
Yeah, I
Not
know.
there yet.
You're really moving forward on this.
You know,
Okay, what about other, does anybody want to be on anything else there?
there
Before I
isn't,
chip in.
For those three?
there's
We're
only
just
those
talking those
three.
three.
Okay.
Nope, we're good.
Okay, then I'm gonna jump on with financial and personnel since finance is gonna be an issue in the near future, I think, with the economy and everything else. And then Matt, I'll help you out down there with Parks and Development. And then recreation programs, Jason,
Yeah,
I'm just gonna assign it to you.
okay.
It's voluntarily mandatory.
Voluntary.
Volunteer.
Okay.
Okay.
On the next item is appointment of the board liaisons to other municipal entities and agencies. Yes,
I'm gonna just say,
let me finish.
you go right
And
ahead.
we'll go
Okay.
first. Okay, really quick, for everyone to know that on these, you're not expected to show to every single meeting that's there. If the superintendent would like you to come to some of these agencies and be with him, because you're representing the agency, yes, but you're not making decisions at those meetings for the board or anyone else. So it's important you know that. So when you look at signing up for one of these, like, COG or City of Newberg or so on and so forth, a lot of times I think that the board members would need to show up when it has something to do with us on the agenda, and not just show up to show up. So, but if you want to, as a citizen, you're more than welcome to show up to every meeting there's here. And the other part of this is that if you have any kind of conflict of interest with any of these, take a hard look at that before you decide to do something with that, because we want to make sure that it's, that you feel comfortable in that, and the public feels comfortable with you doing that. So with that said, the first one on there is the County of Yamhill.
So I will tell you that I have been going to the BOC meetings,
BOC is,
Board of Commissioners meetings, okay, in Yamhill County. I've been doing it here for the last couple of months. I did not make it today because my little penny girl, which is my little dog, got killed by a cougar, all right? So I didn't make it today, but I've been going there for the last few weeks and a couple of months, and I will continue doing that. I was on this I was the liaison for Yamhill County. I have a personal relationship with all of the county commissioners, so if we have something that we need to get through, I think that the one thing that, when I was elected, the one thing that I wanted to change is I wanted to have a relationship with our county commissioners. I believe that we should have a relationship with our county commissioners, our city councilors, our school boards. I believe that we should. We need to work together in every aspect that we possibly can. So that is something that I want to do. So if you guys are okay with that, I want to be our liaison for the county commissioners.
And again, if more than one person, because basically, we're not a board quorum until we have 3 people. So if 2 people want to serve, that's up to them. So Jason, I don't have a problem. Does anybody else have a problem? And, okay, let's move on. Special Districts of Oregon, Special District Association of Oregon. And those are the folks that basically support our organization, either legally or how we do our operation and so on and so forth. I wouldn't mind working with those guys. If somebody else wants to do that, that's fine too. Okay. How about COG, which is the Council of Governments? It's similar in a way to special districts. I don't know, you might want to explain a little bit if you want.
Yeah, I would say that special districts tends to be the administration of a special district as an organization, but they won't necessarily specialize in our area. It's statewide. The COG is regional services, and they also tend to have GIS services, planning services. We're going to be using them for some of our capital projects management shortly. And so those are both membership services that serve us. One, SDAO, is statewide, has some really fantastic things like trainings, both for administrative staff as well as for board members. And then COG is more like service delivery. And
So I was the liaison last time, and they do have meetings, and they're under public meeting law. Those typically occur in the middle of the day, and I unfortunately wasn't able to make it to most of them, even though they were online, because I had conflicts with my day job. So it's not something that I think I want to do again. I know that I think they're having change of leadership within COG.
oh, really?
I believe. So there's probably a lot going on. So if you want to be part of this, you plan on meetings. It seems like they're around 11 a.m. middle of the week, but you can, call them virtually. So.
Yeah, I can make those meetings, but Brandon, I don't know if you're interested or not.
Say if you're more interested, you go for it. But if nobody else, I mean, I'm
I'm
here
gonna put
to.
both of us down.
Sure, you can have me as a
And
backup.
so then, if I can't make it, you can make it, and
Sure,
so
sure.
on and so forth. How's that?
Go for it.
City of Newberg?
I'd be interested in that.
City of Dundee?
I'd like to do Dundee. I've been to a number of their council meetings, have a good relationship with a number of the folks there, so.
Okay. Newberg School District?
Yeah, I'd be interested in that one. I got kids in the school, so
Chehalem Valley Chamber of Commerce?
I'd be interested there.
Okay. I'd like to do Dundee Committee. If that's cool with everybody?
Yep.
Can I be your backup on
We
that one?
can, we'll back up each other on both
Okay,
those guys.
yeah, that works.
And I mentioned this when I was talking to Jim, but we put in Dundee Committee because it's to staff. It was kind of ambiguous what we're referring to, the Parks Committee, or there's one that is, Kat might remember the name better than me, that
DCC.
Dundee Community Committee, that seems to be more of event and programmatic based. And so this will kind of cover any of those committee type roles to the extent, especially, so having the two of you there would be fine. We'll be happy to stay in touch if it seems like there's something related.
Not that
to
Newberg isn't
security.
important, but right now Dundee's kind of got some great things going on, and we just want to support them on what they're doing.
yes, Sanders State and everything. It's great.
Chehalem Cultural District.
Yeah, I'd be
The
interested
center.
in. Oh, the cultural center. I find
Right.
that. Yeah, I'm pretty interested in that one.
What about you?
I'd be interested in that one as well.
What are some
Well,
of
the situation with the cultural center is that you're on their board. And so that's, kind of, I'm leaning a little bit towards Brandon for that because he's got nonprofit experience and it's a nonprofit board. So since it's one person, I'd like to see Brandon there.
I would lean towards Matt on that because Matt has been part of CPRD for the last 2 years, all right? Has experience with CPRD, understands how CPRD works. And I think Matt has life experience as well.
I'm interested in the cultural center. I go to the events. I was part of the the Camellia Festival. I usually go to the art shows and the openings, and I really want to kind of strengthen the relationship that the CPRD board has with the cultural center. So that's probably, of all these, it's the thing I'm probably most interested in, to be honest.
And the thing that I would say about that as well is this is something that we can have, if nothing else, we can have more than one person on this
You could be on the
particular thing.
committee, but you can't be on the board.
Well-
There's a difference, they don't really have a committee.
Actually, from what I understand, every single board member of CPRD is supposed to be on their board. 100%. 100%. Every single one of us, every single member of us is supposed to be on their board. Now, we've only had one person on that, but we can have at least, well, obviously, we want to have at least one, but we can have two.
Their current bylaws wouldn't allow that.
It
They're
doesn't
separate.
matter what their bylaws.
Okay, so that's what I
Because-
don't, that's where I
because
don't wanna
we-
go with this.
Because the fact of the matter is, the rules require all of us to be on their board.
Which, Jason, just so to make sure
Yes.
we're talking about the same thing.
Yes.
Which rules are you referring to?
I'm talking
Is it the
about
lease?
the original bylaws. We're supposed to have every member of the board of CPRD was supposed to be on the board of Chehalem Parks and the Cultural Center.
And that was how that was written.
That was how it was written,
That was how it was written, and it's
and
a
it was
five.
never changed.
It was changed.
How was it changed?
It's been recorded with the county.
Okay.
And with the state, is my understanding. And we can continue to look into it.
Yes.
And that was asked of me early upon getting here.
Okay.
But speaking to the cultural center staff, also speaking to our attorney, it does not seem like they've done anything that's in violation. We haven't been able to find anything of that. And based on those current bylaws that they have adopted as a 501c3, as an independent organization, they're not beholden to us.
Who-
They're not part of CPRD.
Who owns the Cultural Center?
We do.
There you go.
That they're a lessee and they're an independent organization though. So we can request it, but they have their own autonomy as an organization.
All right, well, I'm just gonna say, I'm recommending Matt to be on this board.
Okay, so we have two recommendations. I recommended Brandon first. So, do we want to vote on this, or how do you guys want to handle it?
Is there a way that they both can be involved? Obviously, only one would sit on the board, but in the liaison position, because I think the more of us that are involved, kind of like you were saying, Jason, would be beneficial, especially if there's two people who feel passionate about it. Is there a world that that's a possibility?
It would kind of be up to us to determine. We don't have anything set because I don't know, in my experience, I haven't heard of us having
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
We have one ex officio spot that's offered to us right now. We could request a second
Yeah.
one for a second member.
Yeah.
We could also make a primary and an alternate or something like that, but I don't know if any of those are satisfying to folks.
I'd like to know when, how, and where the decision was made that that this would all be changed and we would only have one member of CPRD on this board. I would like to know that. Now, we don't have to decide that tonight.
Right.
Okay, but I would like to know that. Because did CPRD decide this, or did they decide that? Because if they decide that, it doesn't make a hill of beans of difference. I want to make sure that CPRD made this choice.
Well,
It does make a difference, but I will be happy to report that, and
Thank
we'll
you.
bring the cultural center. And we happen to get a request from the cultural center on making a presentation to us in the August
Okay.
board meeting. So they're going to be here for a presentation anyway. So we
When?
can, in August.
Oh, that's amazing, because this will be the first time.
okay,
since
as
we've-
president, I'd like to move to table this for now and then bring
Okay.
it back after we
Okay.
get more information.
In the meantime, would it be possible to request if we could have 2 seats?
I'm happy to
yeah.
float that to
Yeah,
them and see
yeah.
if they're open to it.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is that we've got a motion to table the item and a request that staff also make a request for a second ex officio seat on the cultural center board.
And I want to know who, where, and when did they decide that CPRD would not have, or not CPRD, but Chehalem Cultural Center, when did they decide that we were not gonna have all of the members of CPRD on that?
I have a second, and we'll, as far as a motion, and then we'll just go ahead and table it to the next meeting.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
So, would like the second?
Second, tabling?
Yeah, just the table.
A second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, who's the second?
Me.
Sorry, me?
Matt.
Thank you.
Kat, I have a question before we move on. Would it be easier if we just do a roll call on every motion for you?
An individual roll call?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Would you call the names then from your spot, or do we need to do that from here?
We can do it either way that you choose. Either
So-
way is fine with me.
So for now on, I'd like to do that, just to make it easier for you, and then everybody can hear it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. In that spirit, could you please restate your motion for the record and as you would like it recorded?
Okay, then my motion was that I would like to table the appointment of the Chehalem Cultural Center representative until the August regular board meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And then we have, to continue on, we have this secret one down here. It says unspecified community groups. So if something comes up and someone's interested, then I'm sure that Clay will talk to us about that.
I'm happy to be that person.
Sounds like a lot of responsibility.
Could be.
Could be.
Okay,
It's
next
called being
week,
a team player.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, what you got?
I was talking to Jim, but may I speak briefly?
sure.
I just wanted to point out, when you're doing your overview, the other thing the special districts does for the district is they're your primary point of contact with the legislature, and one of their people is designated as the park district lobbyist statewide. So COG doesn't do any of that, that's all through special districts.
That's a good point.
Thanks. And you were involved on the board there, weren't you, back in the day?
Back in the last century into the current century, I was in fact on the special district board.
Appreciate your service there.
Member.
Yep, we do, Don. You did a great job for us.
Okay, we're going down to number D, appointment of liaisons to citizens advisory committees. The first up, we have the Trails Advisory Committee. And again, when you serve on these committees, you're serving as a board member, not as a staff member. So mainly, a lot of these were there to listen and take information. And we hope that staff members are at all these committee meetings, but sometimes that's not possible. So we share that back if they don't watch it online. So anyway, the first is Trails Advisory Committee. Who would like to be on that?
Of the three, I'm most interested in trails.
Hmm?
Of the three, I'm most interested in trails.
Hey, Brandon.
I'm starting to learn a little bit of pickleball, but there might be somebody here a little more interested. We'll see.
Okay, pickleball, anybody else on trails, I'm sorry? Okay, Pickleball Advisory Committee?
I'd be happy to do it. I would love the support of another board member as well on there.
I'll hang with you in there.
All right.
And Golf Course Advisory Committee.
I will continue being a golf course advisor, as long as you'll be there hanging with me, Jim.
I will be there with
You
you
are,
because
you are a team
I
player.
appreciate all those folks that are on that committee and all the other
Absolutely.
committees. So, okay. Any other questions about this? All right, moving on because this, I don't want this to be too long a meeting. Approval to proceed, and this is exciting, and I think all the board members are excited about this, to get something moving that's been slowly moving for at least one of them for many, many years, and that's the first one we're going to talk about. So I appreciate staff putting this together and going through that. So before we approve either of these two capital projects, the Sanders Estate or the Jakewood Park pickleball courts, if the staff can give us an synopsis so we can ask questions concerning the Sanders Estate first, before we make a resolution.
Okay, we received bids and opened them up on July 14th, 2 p.m. Both Clay and I were there to open the bids. We recorded them at that time, and it's a public process, so all the contractors were there and all heard the results. We received 4 bids for the Saunders estate from Keel, Lawson Corp., Paul Brothers, and the Saunders Company. And my recommendation is to accept the low bid from the Saunders Company for the Sander Estate Park development for $3,031,511.
What did we have in the budget for this? What were we expecting?
It was 3,150,000, right?
5993.
So pretty darn close. That's good.
Why do you want to go with that bid?
It's the low bid. It's a
Is that the reason why?
qualified- Yep, that's what the bid documents state. We're looking for the lowest qualified bidder.
So as I looked at these bids, on all of these different things, it was amazing to me how massively different they were, okay? Now, the total bid was relatively close, but as I was looking at specifically the stone masonry, we were at $87,500 on one bid. We were at $210,000 on another bid.
Yep.
We're at $173,000 on another bid. We're at $115,000. I'm going to tell you.
And all the rock's coming from the same quarry. So
I'm going to tell you right now that I have hired many people for many jobs, and the low bid does not get you the best job. Do we only ever buy based on the low bid?
It's state law
state law.
that we have to go with unless
Okay.
we have a reason not to.
Okay.
You know, in the public entity,
It's in the
whether it be the
bid
federal or
document.
state government, that's the way it works.
Yeah, I'm not questioning.
Unless
I'm
there's
just,
a
well, I
reason
am
that
questioning.
they're not qualified, or
yeah.
you know, or they don't submit their tier 1 or whatever.
And we've had a history with Saunders Company.
We do, yeah.
We do.
And it's been
They
good.
built Friends Park.
Yeah.
They
Okay.
did a lot of golf course shaping. They've done many projects in the district.
Well, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask the question. So, thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you.
Thanks, Casey.
Just so everybody also knows for discussion purposes that Casey didn't make these decisions on his own. We had consultants that worked with him that have been working through the project, so they reviewed each one of the bids also. So
Okay.
there were a lot of eyes on these. I don't disagree with you when seating is at one point and seating is at, 100,000 more in another. I get that, but these guys will move their numbers around too. And then they'll be basically project managers watching them.
Okay.
So you good?
Hopefully this doesn't turn out like the, like our swimming deal where we got issues there.
We always have issues. I'm sure that the price that's here, I'm hoping it stays there.
I hope
But
so
we
too.
may run into some things that were buried that we don't realize.
Right,
So,
yeah.
So I'd like to pass a resolution for someone to make a motion to approve, and I think that it's written in here what you would want to say under the recommendation. So if someone would like to do that?
I will make a motion to make the recommendation as stated to accept low bid from the Saunders Company for the Saunders Estate Development Phase 1 for $3,031,511.
A second?
Okay, so if we could have a roll call, starting with Brandon.
Could we go in alphabetical order? That's how I have it set
Any
up
way
in
you
my template.
We're all
right.
gonna say yes.
Director McMaster,
Yes.
Director Conan,
Yes.
Director Slider,
Yes.
and we have the others. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next is, number 2 is Jacob Park Pickleball. And I know that those folks are excited, along with the tennis players, to have a new place, more places to play and a better surface. So if you could
New
talk about that.
facility, yeah. So again, this is the Jakewood Park pickleball courts. And the bid opening was July 9th, 2025 at our district office. Again, I think Clay was present.
And you.
And I, and we opened them publicly at 2 p.m. along with,
Bill, I was gonna say, get your mic closer to you. You're gonna get scolded by Richard,
I know.
be careful.
so we opened them publicly and read them aloud. And we had 5 contractors. One of them did not submit the tier 1. So Peel kind of disqualified themselves right from the start. And Lee Contractors, we had Lee Contractors, Lawson Corporation, North Sandiam Paving Company, and Paul Brothers all submitted their tier 1. Lee Contractors was the low bid. And my recommendation to you is to accept the low bid from Lee Contractors for the Jakewood Park pickleball courts for $785,879 to replace the surfacing on the existing tennis courts and add 6 new pickleball courts to Jakewood Park.
Casey, can you explain what the resident bidder line item is?
Oregon.
Nice. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And that's something that, there is some flexibility, you don't have to pick the lowest bidder. It would be helpful if we had something, an internal policy that gave some kind of decision-making discretion in something, whether it's resident bidder status, which there's some flexibility in state law, but it's pretty limited. It's basically, if all other things being equal,
Yeah.
you can pick the resident bidder. But,
There was such a discrepancy in the bids that
yeah.
it was kind of hard to do that.
So I have a question about that. I'm a bit picky about tennis courts. I don't know if I mentioned that before, but a lot of tennis courts are built very poorly. They crack, they have dead spots, they become unplayable very quickly. Also, the other problem is with tennis and pickleball, it's supposed to be, I think, was it a 1 degree
Very
slope?
limited.
Currently, it's probably like an 8 degree at the current courts. I'm just guessing, but you feel like you're on top of the hill on one side. So all that being said, the quality control on these kinds of things, I think they can make it pretty with acrylic on top, but if they don't do the work correctly, we're going to be back in the same spot in about 6 years. That's how fast they fall apart.
Yeah,
And we don't want to do
We
that.
have
So,
testing procedures in place
Okay.
to make sure that it gets done properly.
and do we know the reputation for Lee Contractors? Because they're significantly lower, which I like. I like saving
They were
money.
more in line what we budgeted,
Okay.
and both John Champlin from ND5 said around 500,000. One of the bidders put in almost 300,000 for a fence. So
Yeah. So is there anything, have we seen their work in any local communities or?
One of the
Close.
more recent ones that they've done, so they've done projects recently of multiple bathrooms for THPRD. They did a skate park in Camas. And so we think that those are some of the things that seem like that they appear to have the qualifications for this. The other part is that, we can make sure, and we should be making sure that we have staff showing up on site for these. And looking at it through the construction process, there was a board member who had mentioned that to me already today, and I think that we would be happy to do that to make sure we're holding folks accountable. And Lango Hansen, actually this is NV5.
Yeah.
NV5 will still be available, but they're clearly not on site, they're not in town. So we can work with them between they and ourselves to hold this contractor accountable, or any contractor on any project.
Because
Clay,
they've
Casey.
done a lot of projects with pickleball courts and tennis courts and those types of
The
facilities.
NV5, folks? Okay.
Yeah.
And
And do they have any information about this contractor, their reputation, any other courts that they built?
they don't really. no.
They don't, okay.
Are there any warranties?
Often there are, and that's something I would
Often
expect.
there are. Do we know, are Are there any on
I
this?
don't know what the builder warranty is
Okay.
on this kind of a project.
That is something that I think is very important. If there are no warranties, and look, I'm gonna tell you, I sell tow trucks for a living, okay, and people come to me all the time, they talk about, oh, we can buy this truck for $30,000 less. Everything's about what's included in it, okay? You can build a piece of crap for a lot less money, and it won't work out. So,
Well, there's a guarantee, there's a surety guarantee.
what does that mean?
It means that there is a warranty on it for whatever happens for the first, 2 years. But I don't-
2 years,
They
what
have
does
to
that
pull a
mean?
surety bond.
Yeah,
So they have
5, 2 years?
They have to bond to make sure that if there is a failure, we can be compensated for it.
yeah.
5, 2 years, does that mean 5 years or 2 years?
2 years,
2 years.
that I know of. I'd have to read the contract again.
Okay. Is it different between the different companies?
It should not be.
No, it should be
stated in
industry.
the Contract.
Yep.
Okay.
Somewhere.
Like, for example, phase 2 of the cultural center, we just did a walkthrough that was a warranty walkthrough at 1 year following completion of construction. So
Okay.
a similar thing, we had the architect there, we had the construction project manager on site doing that, and they were doing the punch list associated with the warranties.
And each
Okay.
individual item is still warranted by a company. Like if
That's
you
nice.
have theater,
If we have a dead spot in the concrete, if it isn't performing properly, what happens?
They have to repair it.
then they're responsible for it.
Okay. Okay.
It needs
If
to be
if
the
there's a
spec.
warranty, I'm okay with whatever you guys decide you want to do.
Yeah, it's gotta meet, the requirements that we have for it.
Okay.
Nick, do you have any questions? I'll go around the room.
No, not really. I think, yeah, as long as the, staff is there to hold accountable and we lean on, is it ND5 or NV5? Is it?
V as in Victor.
NV5,
And
with
John
their knowledge.
Champlin
Yeah.
is a landscape architect, and he works with all the park districts and
Yeah.
things around, so
Yeah.
he's had a lot of experience.
Yeah.
And I had a question, Clay. Can you explain to the public where because this bid comes in $91,613 over what was budgeted. And we talked about this, but just for the sake of the public, so they can understand.
So there are two things that we can do, and so one, we still have it appropriated in our capital budget, so the budget unit that we have is for the appropriation, not the line item. So it's still budgeted with funds, but if we spend down from all our other funds and all the other projects we have, then we still wouldn't have the funds in the capital outlay portion of the budget, but we do have contingency.
Right.
So either we're gonna be not spending from those other line items on which the capital outlay portion of the budget is built, or we would be required to go into contingency, and if we did that, we would do a supplemental budget and transfer out of contingency into capital outlay. So we have options, even though this is higher than we wanted it to be. But we would probably wait till we get further along in the project and are actually conducting the expenditures.
And second question, I know the Pickleball Committee had questions about the soundproofing. Has there been any movement on that discussion? Casey, do you know? With the
It's
city
It's
and-
part of the contract, the
Okay.
city's requiring. it.
Okay, so,
Because the homes are within
Sure.
100, 200 feet.
Cool.
That was their request.
I have a couple of comments. Brandon, you do? On that, well, the subject you just brought up, I asked in the last meeting to see if the city would look at not having us put those up at the beginning, and I don't know if you went to that.
We have not submitted a land use application yet. That's still on my radar. We can still do it, but we're trying to work out some other things
To
first.
see it, and if it's not gonna work for us, then we put them up later, but, because I know the pickleball committee was pretty adamant that they didn't wanna be boxed in. So, the other part of it is, did we, call on references on these?
No.
No, we didn't get a chance today.
Well, in further business size, if I could request that we do that, that would be a good thing, because, we never know what comes up when you can write whatever you want on these, but, and I'm sure all of these are reputable companies, but I think that's important to do. Lastly, did any of these companies here have any, past experience in building tennis courts or pickleball courts, do you know?
They all have.
So you're telling me the lead contractors has built?
Except for, well, I can't see where Lee has done one.
Wait a minute, are you saying that Lee, the one that we're going with, is the only one that has?
Let me finish.
Yeah, go
Okay,
ahead.
let's go. So the deal is that, yeah, I would ask that they check the references and everything. I think that that's important, because it is a specialized situation with these tennis courts. I've surfaced those twice when I was here, and it wasn't a fun project. And the base was so bad, that's why we've had problems over the years. So,
Well, the architect has specified the base, and that's where all the testing and things.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
The architect specified the base and the court, and that's where all the testing gets done. So if they don't meet the specifications, then they're gonna be held to it.
Okay, another question.
So are you suggesting that they're the only company that hasn't done courts before?
I don't know that for sure.
Okay,
We went through and checked all the boxes that,
okay.
you know, all the things that were required for us to check the bid sheet and the tier one, and I did talk to some other people about them, not their references, but some other people.
And that's helpful too.
Casey, I would say this, I've never built a rocket ship, okay?
Neither has Elon Musk before he did.
Okay,
I just wanna make sure that if we go with the lowest bid, they're qualified to do this job. And I'm sure you guys have done your due diligence, but I just wanna make sure,
Yeah.
okay?
Well, if you approve the recommendation,
Yes,
there is a letter of intent that goes out tomorrow
okay,
that gives other contractors 7 days to, you know, put their grievances in or whatever. So at the end of that 7 days, which is next, the 24th at 4 o'clock, all the other contractors have a chance to say what they want. So these aren't final yet, because I know Jim's had cases where things didn't go right. I think there was one project at the golf course that didn't go right. The second 9, they had to rebid it, so.
what, can you tell me without looking at this thing, what's the difference between this bidder and the next bidder? What's the cost difference? Do you know off the top of your head?
I mean, $400,000.
$400,000.
$400,000. And what's the total cost?
Well, the low bidder is $785,000.
And a high bidder is?
And the next,
1.2 million.
yeah, the next,
1.29, 1 million.
That's a big
no,
deal.
sorry, the next highest, or the next lowest bidder is $1,140,000.
That's a big deal.
I had another question.
That's a big deal.
I know I mentioned this to you earlier, but with the Sanders
wait,
State,
are you done speaking?
sorry, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead, Brendan.
Sorry, I apologize. Yeah, with the Sanders State, we had the breakdown in the packet, and which showed, like as Jason was saying, you could see some were hugely, different from each other. But for the
We didn't
courts.
we didn't ask for that.
okay, that's what I was gonna ask.
Now, I'm a little concerned if we don't know they've done these before, but on the other hand, they are the low bid and they put that bid in with good intentions. So, but we have those days to do a little more homework and research, so I think that we should do that. But I'm gonna ask someone to, ask for a resolution to move on this.
I am not willing to move forward on this until we have more information. I think that when we talk about spending the public's money on these things, we need to have more information. When we're talking about a $400,000 difference in price, you can go to Earl Shive and get a paint job, and you can go to another place and get a paint job, and I'm telling you, there's a massive difference in the quality, and there's a massive difference in the price. I think we better figure out, are these guys qualified to do this? If they haven't done it in the past before, I don't know that I want to spend I don't know if I want to spend the public's money on this stuff. $400,000.
Well, that was close to what our estimate was.
No, $400,000 difference.
I know,
But we
but their,
budgeted.
their bid was close to what we estimated.
400, right, we estimated
And I
that.
contacted the
How
person
many-
that
how many-
does those courts.
Casey, I'm not picking on you. How many bids did we get?
5.
5. And it's $400,000 less than everybody else?
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't jive.
The architect estimated 500,000.
Okay?
I estimated 685.
And this guy's 400,000 less than everybody else?
No, his bid is 785.
And the next bid is?
1.1 million.
That's a big difference.
Yes, it is.
I mean, if you
It's
were
not
building,
three.
if
You
you were
know,
building
when
a
I got
home-
the estimates done from
Yes.
the people that actually do the courts, and
Yes.
Jim knows who they are,
Yes,
they told me 300,000 at the time.
okay.
That was 2 years ago.
I'm just gonna tell
That's
you
for the
guys,
courts, the surfaces, all the regrading. That's for everything except the fence around it, and for the what is it? The water quality swale.
yeah.
That's the only difference.
I'm just saying that if you decide to go buy a hamburger, okay? You can buy a 99-cent burger, you can buy a $6 burger, and there's a big difference in what you're getting. So, I'm just a little concerned
Well, that's why we put specifications in
Yeah.
there in the bid packet.
Okay.
So that they have to, you know, if we do testing and things don't go right, it's on them.
Mhm.
So it behooves them to get it right the first time.
Yeah, and by the way, I just want to be clear, there's no such thing as a 99-cent burger anymore.
Is
That
there,
was
is
in the
I can
90s.
make
there, is there other discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve the low bid by Lee Contractors LLC for $785,879 to construct the Jake with pickleball and tennis courts.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Quick question? Is that over?
Yeah.
I just had a question. Summer is pretty busy building time, I suspect, right?
Yes.
So is there a
Yes.
decent chance, I mean, some of these companies are bidding high because,
There's a reason why Pill didn't submit their tier 1 too.
okay, because they're otherwise occupied.
They're busy.
Okay.
Right, so we,
Had we bid this out earlier in the spring or last winter, might have been a different story.
so we
Matt
do,
made a motion and Nick seconded that. Can I have a voice vote, please?
Director Fields?
Aye.
All right. Director McMaster,
Yes?
Director Conan,
Yes.
Director Slider,
Yes.
Director Smith.
Yes.
Passed unanimously. Thank you.
I just want to be clear, I'm just asking the questions.
I
okay?
will
I
make
know
some-
you guys are working doggone hard.
I
at
will
what you're
make some
doing.
phone calls for you, Jason, and
Okay, I know you're
Yeah.
doing a great job, okay, Casey? Thank you.
And Jason, I think you're asking good questions. I mean, this is you want to get it right.
Yeah.
Okay. That was that, and it's exciting, and thank you staff for all your work on this, because it's been a ton of work, I know that. So share with other staff that worked on it, that we appreciate it as a board, and we'll move on.
okay, so the
to
next one's
work
our,
session.
the next one is our last one for this evening, and I do want to say, work sessions don't always have final conclusions. So we do not have to go into the wee hours of the morning for this item. If we get to a point in the conversation where we say this is enough conversation for the evening, we can table it until a time certain hearing. It could be in August, it could be at whatever meeting you want it to be, it could be at another special meeting. So that was something I wanted to point out, that we don't have to cram in everything that your elected hearts want to speak about this evening. It could be that we just talk about some things and we do other things for later. The other thing I wanted to point out is if there are some of these things that seem like you'd like to get into them, but they are just going to take forever to wordsmith it to death, or some issue like that, then we can basically assign someone to work on it with staff, or a lead staff, or a lead board member or two to bring it back. And we do that kind of tabling exercise again. So we don't have to do everything. Now, one of the things for this is I sent out the presentations for this in the board packet, so all of you could look at the slides and hopefully put it under your pillows, memorize them, and think about it a little bit. But what I was going to suggest is that I can walk through these, let you know what I was thinking and sharing these with you, and then we'll come back and we can pull any of those back up for discussion purposes to support your discussion. Now, if you don't like that, we can do it completely however folks would like to, because it is intended to be a work session that's a dialogue.
I just want to be clear. Matt, Jim, and I brought our sleeping bags. We are prepared.
Thank you.
And we will let you speak.
Committed. Well, and what I want to do is do a kickoff and then let you speak, because some of the objectives that staff have for tonight are, we really want to understand, are these still relevant when we talk about goals and policies and those sorts of things? Are they still? And Richard, would you mind putting the presentation up there, please? We want to know, are these still relevant? Is there anything that we can say mission complete? Is there anything that's redundant or needs to get moved or removed? Thank you very much, Richard. And so on the next slide, we're going to break this out into two halves. The first half of this, as shown, there we go, is going to be about strategic priorities. And so, Richard, next slide, please. Is going to be about these strategic priorities. The second part is an update more about fiscal issues. And so I wanted to share some information that maybe you already know, maybe it's new information, but having new board members on as well as folks that have already been on the board, it seemed important to get on the same page about both our priorities and our finances. So that's the goal here. So one of the things when we talk about some of the strategic planning areas, we have our mission, we have our vision, we have our strategic goals, and we have our strategic objectives. So the mission is just that mission statement. It's very broad, very high level. It's not intended to be action-oriented or time-bound or specific. The vision are high-level things, more like values or guiding principles associated with what we think CPRD is trying to do, how it's getting to the mission. Then those strategic objectives, or actually strategic goals come first. Keep getting them backwards. The strategic goals are major goals that we want to get done. They're not intended to be time-bound. They don't need finances. They don't need to be necessarily specific, but they're the things we're trying to achieve. They may have multiple pieces to them. And then the strategic objectives, those are supposed to be something that are more specific. They tell us when to get it done. They tell us maybe how to get it done. They tell us what our expectations are and those kinds of things. So that's some of what I wanted to talk about. The other observation that I wanted to share is in the 2023 strategic planning session that the COG facilitated, the first session was 2.5 hours long, and 2 hours of it was talking about our capital projects. And only half an hour was talking about the other stuff we do. And so what I would like to ask the board is staff, and this is talking to multiple staff across the organization, it would be helpful to get some understanding of how we're doing on all that other stuff to a bigger extent. What are the expectations for us? The capital projects list, it's good to know what's important. It's important because we spend a lot of money on it, and it's the future. Because it talks to growth. But also knowing if there are things that we need to do better, that we think are higher priorities for what we do in, day out, all of the staff that work for us, all 208 of them, they would like to know that. So those are some of the things, and we're going to touch on some of the admin activities because those get into operational support, fiscal stability, and some of those exercises too. So then on the next slide, we'll kind of start getting into our priorities and the things that were identified in 2023. So Richard, on the next slide, please. So these are our mission is across towards the top in blue. And then we have our vision, and I'll just do the short version. I mean, you all can read, but I'm going to say it's partially for the recording. Look to the future, maintain a lean management staff, establish alternative plans, cultivate positive rapport with our constituency, promote opportunities for learning and growth within your organization, build and promote social capital. So again, that's the vision. Those should be kind of our guiding principles for how we're getting to that mission. Then, Richard, if you'd go to the next slide, please. And so these are our strategic goals. Because there are enough of them, I'm not going to read them one by one because we can hopefully all see them. But I would say that these tend to be ones that are, the majority of them are capital improvement related. There are some, and I'm going to point out 2 slides from now, that don't have direct correlation to some of our objectives. And that's why I included that slide. I wanted to make a comparison between those. So many of these generally talk about developing things, doing things, building things. So if people aren't familiar with it, when I say develop in this context, it means build it. And there are a few that don't do those, and so we'd want to make sure that those make sense to us as well. So Richard, if you go to the next slide, please. And these objectives get a little more specific about when we say develop this, develop that, they say we're going to build this thing or these things, and we're going to do it for this dollar figure. So this does create the capital list. This is a good thing for us to have. And this is what we use as the foundation for our 5-year capital outlay plan in the budget. So we're looking towards those strategic goals to calibrate these things. We also in the past have used these sorts of figures and items for things like our SDC rate methodology, and which is important. It has to go off of something like a capital improvement list. So Richard, next slide, please. And this slide is going to be the one that's the comparison. Those that are filled in blue are those where a goal and an objective are directly related to each other. You see on the far right, there's one where I put in gray boxes where, to me, it kind of means that, but without speaking to the board and without necessarily speaking to staff, I didn't want to say that it's a definite yes. So those are probablys. And so that's because that one's about community programs, for example. And to me, these will probably, if they're related to development, result in more community programs. Now, some of these, and one of the things that was important for me when I thought about this was that when you see a column with no boxes under it, it's a little ambiguous on what we mean. What's the objective that we expect to be carried out by that goal? It doesn't mean we can't be aware of that goal and try and do it. I'll look at number 7, acquire land for future, and that's for future development, or land for the future. You know, this district has a history of land banking, so we accept donations. We might, if there's something that is a screaming deal that we know would be good for us in the future, use that because it's got value in trade, it's got value in the future, and we as a district are going to continue existing for a number of years. So a land banking strategy so that we can identify things for strategic or recreational value is not a bad thing to have. But I don't know how much is too much and how much we need to actively work on it, on this. And that might be just fine, but that's kind of where that is, and that was the example for that. Similarly, we have some that are, let's see here, some that are related to each other and seem to almost overlap. And so there are a few related to access to the river that, you know, we've got about 4 goals that all basically mean the same thing. We want river access and we want recreational amenities near the river. That's okay. But it just kind of makes it a little redundant, and maybe that's acceptable. Richard, would you go to the next slide, please? So then, again, all of these are talking about the last check-in we had, last time the board talked about this, which was in 2023. And so I wanted to kind of talk about some of what we heard. So there was a couple of poster exercises that the board at the time did. And so some of those were related to priorities that were discussed, and then others were related to timing. And so the box on the right shows the short term, which was deemed to be 1 year, the midterm, which was 3 years, and the long term, which was 5 years. So some of those, and those that the line went away between those, it's because it was both. They had votes in both columns. And so some of those, you can see like the Chehalem Cultural Center renovation, that is done or mostly done, I would say. Rennie Field project is not really started. We're still in the concept design phase. Sanders State, clearly we're about to break ground. Restrooms at Ewing Young, Jakewith, and Memorial Park is not initiated yet. And then we've got things like the paddle launch. And so that was actually a write-in, so I'm assuming we're talking about the paddle launch at Dundee, but it could also refer to Highway 219. So some of those, and then some of the bullets that are here, Sanders State being important, I think that's, from what I've heard, still relevant. More sports field and youth fields. That's not particularly represented in the goals and objectives, but it was what we heard in the poster exercise the board did. Park improvements, so existing parks and improvements within them, was something that came from all 5 members, 4 of which mentioned Ewing Young Park and 2 mentioned Jakewith. And then developing partnerships, and that came across specifically mentioning George Fox with 3 different folks. So I just wanted to highlight those things that came up last time to make sure that we didn't have a discussion then completely ignore it for 2 years. Richard, on the next slide, please. So we did a SWOT analysis for anyone that's here in the room with me. The text might be a little bit small, but this is something that staff observations, and so this was an exercise that myself and some of the other senior managers did. And one of the things I wanted to point out is that there's kind of a double-edged sword effect on some of these, that where things are both a strength and a weakness, or they might be both kind of a strength and a threat even. And so one of those would be the lean staffing that was brought up. So the lean staffing, good fiscal stewardship, you're not wasting money by hiring a bunch of people, you don't really need that badly. But also, we get excessive span of control, where you're really asking people to do so much that they can't get it all done. And so there's a danger there associated with that sort of thing. There's a few things in here that talk to challenges that we could be running into in the future. So, let's see, where's that? So, to me, some of the challenges would be what I would call administrative strengthening, where we need to do some things. We probably need to have another SDC methodology conducted. We probably need to do a budget reformat to make sure we've got a one-to-one relationship with our finance software because it's done standalone. We need to get caught up on our audits. We need to have more formalized capital improvement planning. We probably need something more like a parks standards and management plan of some sort. We don't have something on exactly what the goal is, what those should look like. So that's what I mean by administrative actions. And so those aren't seen, and those are frankly not the sexiest topics that we could possibly have to work on, but they're important for us running good parks and running good programs. Some of those I would also say are related to digital modernization. So, but there's a lot of other details that are through there that was shared with you based on what staff were saying, so I wanted everyone to have that. And on the next slide, if Richard takes there, thank you very much. I wanted to also, just as food for thought, to throw up some things here that I feel like I've heard in the 6 months that I've been here, as well as what I've talked to staff about from hearing for folks. That could be places for bicycles. Some board members show up about every 2 months and give me a poke and ask what I've done. Thank you, Director Fields, for keeping us on topic, but just making sure we are talking about those things, even if they're not reflected in those places. Because that's one of the things is some of the strategic planning of goals and objectives we have, they're fairly concrete and we can plan for those. If they're not reflected for there, it makes it easier for them to fall off the radar. Similarly, bathroom enhancement. I put sports field complex in here because there is a sports field mentioned that's a $3 million project. I'm not sure if that's just Rennie, if there's more expected than that. And I also wanted to kind of bring up if we turf one field over here, do we need other fields elsewhere? And are we going down a path of creating kind of a fragmented set of sports fields all over the city? Or are we looking for staff to find land and a space to do a bigger sports complex with multiple fields? And getting a sense from a big perspective on what the board would expect to see would be helpful. And again, we don't have to have all the answers today. Community outreach and communication, if there's certain things that the board thinks, like from a goals perspective, a high level policies perspective, I don't need the board to tell me that you want to see catalogs come back. I have staff to tell me that. But if there's something that we'll know we're successful when certain things are happening because we've met these objectives, that would be good to know. And then there's several other things that are kind of shown on the right-hand side. On the next slide. So these are the kind of like the cover letter that I showed, which the cover letter in your packet was really just to prompt some thinking coming into the meeting. We don't necessarily need to go through those one at a time, but I wanted to ask the questions about, who are our key relationships? What are the strategies we should be doing? What are some of the service level expectations you do have? I've heard people talk about what they want things to do, but do we know what those should be? Do we expect something like service level plans? There are things we do now related to sustainability. We're the only Purple Pipe customer for recycled water in the entire city. We don't talk about sustainable stuff that we do, but frankly, we do good stuff. Brian's got a really strong integrated pest control management approach to managing our parks and facilities, but that's just something that we do. And I don't know if that's a value that we need to mention, but I wanted to mention it here because I haven't heard it talked about. Reporting and accountability, communication, outreach, and those sorts of things. All right, Richard, will you take us to the next slide, please? So, that was the last of the strategic planning goals. We have a decision here, so we can either start talking about those things, or I can kind of rip through on the fiscal slides and we can just come back to all of it in whatever order you all want. What would you prefer to do? Talk about the strategic planning stuff now, or move on to the fiscal slides?
I would say fiscal slides. I feel like they'll be tied together a little bit.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
I'm good with that.
Sure.
Okay. All right, we'll move on.
Yeah, I've got
Oh, you've
some
got
thoughts here. I think
Okay.
that a lot of this you're asking the board to do, and quite a bit of it's staff. But, you know, I looked at other agencies and I look at what I work with the state. And to really flesh this out, we really need a master plan for this district to look at all angles and talk to the public about what they want. And we really need a comprehensive maintenance management plan, in my opinion. These are my opinions, I'm not talking to the board. To really flesh this out. Now, I'm not talking about this, maybe possibly the staff doing that, but I know that a lot of agencies do that, where we did it in-house before, and I commend Don for that, and we got to where we're at now. But I think that we need to take a hard look, and that might flesh some of this out. And lastly, and some people don't like to hear this word, but I looked at the budget this year and just basically capital outlay for this year was 2/3 of our budget is $14 million. And our budget was what, $20 million?
It's about 24.
So 24 million, so there's no way that's a realistic number to reach unless we look to do let's say a 10-year levy, maintenance levy, that would earmark specific things that you guys are talking about, because I don't see any way in the numbers that I'm looking at when I'm working with the state right now that we can meet the needs of this district unless we find another revenue stream. And I'm talking about maintaining, I'm not talking about getting new. Because again, STCs can be used for some things to, let's say, replace like a bathroom that we're gonna tear out because it's done. But for a lot of things it can't be, so something to discuss down the road, I just thought I'd bring that out. Whether it be surfaces of basketball courts, you know, trails, bathrooms, parking lot, resurfacing, all those costs are huge. And so, and I know the staff knows that, I know the board is gonna find that out as these numbers keep coming in every year. But it's something to think about down the road. And then again, that's a voter deal. We just have to present them the facts. It's not, so anyway, that's how I feel. So I'm not sure how, there's so much here, and I appreciate the staff doing that, I don't know how everybody else feels. But I'm not exactly sure where we want to start, or we just want to look at those projects or not.
I would say, I would ask you the question, what do you mean by levy? What
So-
does that mean, what does that word mean to you?
So a levy is a specific amount of money that's used for just these things.
And where does that money come
It
from?
would come from the voters, it would come from your taxes.
You mean an additional cost?
Yeah. No, I get that, and that's a subject we would have to discuss.
Yeah.
But then again, we can't keep going down the road where we put those numbers in. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's just not gonna happen.
And I will say, one of the things that if the board even wanted to consider, would we do something like that, or I should say the organization with the board at the top, then we would need to understand where we are and do an assessment and figure out where are we in relation to the standards that we want to meet,
Right.
and then ask ourselves, and because that's one of the problems is we have things that are relatively non-formalized, like our capital, so we don't have what I would consider a particularly robust assets depreciation tracking model. So we have a lot of assets, we have a lot of things that are always actively aging, always actively getting older. And so we should be able to track, can we keep up with the replacement of these aging assets? Or can we reasonably do so If we say, well, we're pretty close and we can pursue grants and find wins in certain places and those sorts of things. So I think that for us to go down a path where we would look at some of those, I would say outside the box financing things that are hard to do, you have to have a compelling reason to do it. So we'd have to do something like an assessment.
Right, you would have to, the voters would have to see what you're doing, and I'm not saying doing that right now, but when I see these numbers coming up, I mean, they're just shocking, but they're real, and so,
Well, and I think that's a pretty good segue into the next set of the slide decks, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So, Richard, would you bring up the back half of the presentation, please? So, thank you, because that is helpful. And that's part of why I wanted to share some of these things about the cost recovery models and some of the revenue diversity, like where.
Is that this section?
We can't see anything on the slides right now.
Oh, sorry.
Fiscal.
Oh, that's perfect.
There
Thank you,
go.
Richard.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's the first slide in the fiscal issue. So what we're showing here on the left is, to my mind, what I've heard talked about here at CPRD, which is that basic services has a 0% cost recovery, which means 100% subsidized, and 100% cost recovery with special services. Now on the right, we have a different approach that's depicted here, and this is from Willamette Lane's budget and finance documents. And they go with kind of a 5-tiered model. And what you would see if you were to go look in the document that this comes from is that, let me find it here in my notes, that, did my notes not come through? Well, basically that it tiers from, oh no, it didn't. My notes didn't carry over, so I'm going to try and remember it. But basically, it goes from your individualized versus community benefit. So the base of the pyramid is things that are the entire community benefits from these things. And the top of the pyramid is only the individual user benefits from this. And then you've got spectrums in between. So the very base of the pyramid might be large community events, non-monitored facilities like playgrounds and trails, and those sorts of things. The next tier up might be things where we think there's large community benefit, but not necessarily every single person. And that might be things like our care program. That would be certain types of community events that we think are generally good, but not everybody's going to get them. So they wouldn't be full cost recovery. They want to have some offset in that general area. When you get to the balanced model, that might be things like youth or adult sports. Those things that we think they're good, but not everybody uses them, so you do pay somewhat, and those are typically at 100% cost recovery. And then as you get increasingly individualized, it might be things like instruction and classes that are really for you learning as an individual. And so, and then if you get even more to the peak of the pyramid, it might be like a scuba diving certification, where it's clearly just for you. It's not really for everybody. But there are even deviations in that, and that's really how that model is based. And one thing, the way that it gets reported annually in the budget, from what I can see, is they have a metric that they're shooting for, and that's the cost recovery for the special services department as an overall umbrella.
yeah, so, you know, I know they put this model together, and I'm not saying it's a bad model, but I also say that, I also look at things through, let's say, the aquatic center, let's give it an example. We are, let's say, making $40,000 a year, you know, over our special services costs. So we're on the plus side of that, but the reality is the aquatic center really paying for itself?
Mm-hmm.
And so, okay, but I had to replace that one unit in there, and that was $100,000.
And that's where we need a more robust depreciation model of
But
some
that,
sort.
so that's what I'm talking about. So when people say they pay for themselves, whether it be the golf course or the aquatic center, whatever,
They don't.
I don't feel comfortable with that because, like Casey just piped up, they don't.
They don't pay.
But
for
the reality is the
depreciation costs.
taxpayers,
Mm-hmm.
on the other hand, have basically voted us a tax base to provide certain
Right.
amenities. So, so I look at it a little different, like when we're going to the golf course right now or anything else. I look at the whole ball of wax and what we're gonna have to pay.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe we need a different model. I'm not saying this one's bad, but it could be morphed.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that it's the perfect solution either. I wanted to show something different, not something perfect.
Right.
And I think that the story we're currently telling ourselves isn't telling the whole story, and I'll give another example of that from the budget. And even though it's not up here, and actually, Richard, will you take us to the next slide, please? In the budget, one of the things that I see when I look at the structure is we have at least 3 different ways of structuring how we finance programs. So if you look at the golf course, it's broken into 2 departments, programs and maintenance, and they're kept completely separate, and they're kind of treated separate. And if you just look at the program, it is killing it on revenue, because it looks like it's making like 285% cost recovery. It looks fantastic. But if you add in the maintenance, it's still doing pretty good. It's about 85%. Now, you look at the aquatic center, and the facilities are embedded in that department. And so that is in the 90-ish, but it doesn't account for depreciation. But general cost recovery, as you would see in the budget, is about 90% or so. Pretty good. Then we start getting into all the other departments, and the revenues are much more fragmented for those, so it's a little harder to track. But for example, sports uses facilities we don't pay for. That's a great thing. But it also uses facilities at parks that do other things. So there's multiple things happening at a single site. And you can even make that argument about the golf course as well, because you have a 2-mile trail on it. So it's hard to find, it's going to be hard to find something perfect. And I'm not saying that we can, and that's why I wanted to show this one at the special services level. Probably still not perfect. The table on the right kind of shows general cost recovery across the special services department based on our current structure. And so I took those out of the revenue synopsis, compared those against the expenditures on those. And so this is probably still not perfect. So for example, it still doesn't include golf programs, and maintenance are still bifurcated out. So not perfect, but we do see that in general, we see strong cost recovery. I would say that the most recent one is a conservative estimate because we didn't know what the actuals were for the revenues. So we just left things in there. We're pretty conservative. So that 102% cost recovery for the most recent fiscal year, I don't know if that's really in the neighborhood. I'm hoping it's closer to the prior year, obviously, but we'll see. So then going to the next slide, I wanted to share a little bit about where the funds come from. So what I did similarly, went through the budget and visualized those revenue streams that we see in each of those revenue synopses. And you can see they're kind of just color coded across, and you see those histograms of each year you get big chunks. The things that jump out to me is the very bottom of this is the beginning fund balance, that deep blue color. And the second from the top, the light green, is the SDC beginning fund balance. Those are significant chunks, but those are really a one-time. That's like a pool or a reservoir of funds. So, Richard, if you'll take us to the next slide, please. I basically took those out, the beginning fund balances, and then averaged out all of those different revenue types, so we see what's coming in over each given year. And the things that are coming in over each given year, minus those existing pools of funds that aren't really coming in, they just exist. Total taxes is a pretty significant one at 35%, but we see special services, other special services, the Aquatic and Fitness Center, kind of each coming in at 14%, and the golf coming in a little more than those. To me, that's a pretty interesting thing to see visualized and shown, in that those together are about 46%. And so that they're higher than the taxes that are coming in. So I think that's a good thing. We are a model of high revenue, high expenditure. We have a lot of services going on, but people are paying through fees and things like that, but also offsetting with the taxes. So just that's an informational thing to think about. What does our portfolio look like?
Clay, what is our basic services? What is that?
That would be parks, playgrounds, general maintenance for things that don't cost
Just
a fee.
basically taking care of the property.
Yeah, and if I skip past that, I apologize. When we say special services, it's anything with a fee, and basic services is anything without a fee.
Okay.
And some of those tend to be the general park spaces. They also tend to be the playgrounds, because playgrounds by footprint are pretty expensive.
It says it's 0%.
They don't make any money because they don't take in fees.
That's what that 0.
Yeah. I just include it because it's a point that we're showing them. Now, if you look at it, it's actually rounded down. We take in anywhere from about $10,000 to about $40,000, and those come from park rentals and some of the leases from entities that we have in some of the spaces occasionally.
Okay.
But it's not reliable, and it's pretty small.
Yeah.
So, this is, again, a slide of just kind of food for thought on things that administratively I think that we need to be doing from a fiscal standpoint. And we're not going to be able to do all of this year. So I'm not going to commit to that. But these are important things that they'll show up, and so we'll probably end up talking about these at some point. And I may even show up again sometime in the future with a timeline on when I hope we can accomplish these and what I want that sequencing to look like. If the board is receptive to that, I don't know that I need anything from you, but I also don't want to surprise you. And if you tell me some of these things seem more important than other things, that would be good feedback. So, and then I think it's really the last slide here. Richard, if you go to the next one. This one's just taking our 5-year capital outlay, the way that it's laid out in the budget. It's got a list of projects with a list of dollar figures, and they're page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5 for our 5 years out. And one of the things that I would point out here is that we see a lot of projects slated for our next 2 years, and then it gets lighter on our next 3. It doesn't mean things don't get pushed backwards if we don't do them, or that things don't show up on those lists. That's just our best kind of planning effort that we have right now. And so I just wanted to show and give an opportunity for folks to look at those all at the same time. One of the things that to me is a little terrifying is the number of playgrounds. So the playgrounds are aging, and they're aging quickly. Someone must have been installing those like gangbusters about 20 to however many years ago and just been killing it. But now we have to start keeping up with those. We do have some promising leads. We want to get things like the grant funds that we have underway now. We want to get those spent down so we can apply for more grants to pay for those. And we have community partnerships that if this board wants to go out there and make friends and find opportunities for kind folks that want to help us out. We've had Rotary as a great partner for this in the past. They've reached out to us again recently and are interested in doing a playground replacement, which is a big deal for us, because that really frees up funds to then do yet another playground, because we're not going to get to the bottom of the stack. But that can help us move further along on that list. And so actually, and I should give a shout out, both Rotary and then Kiwanis has also tentatively expressed interest too, and I'm going to do a community presentation of them next month. So we'll try and hook them. So, and then the last slide is really just a thank you slide, and says, did we miss anything? So with that, we can go back to wherever folks would like to talk about, or you can completely ignore the slideshow and just talk to each other.
Well, I'd like to say, Clay, you have done an incredible job here with this. This is something that we never have seen before. Of course, I've only been here for 2 years, but I bet Jim will back me up on this. So, and Dawn, you'll probably back me up on this. This is really incredible. So thank you for putting this together.
This is the new guy wanting to figure things out.
You've done a good job here, and we really appreciate the work that you've put into this, as well as the staff. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation.
All right.
So are we free to discuss?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, he gave us some marching orders here.
Yeah,
What would
now
you
talk
like to
amongst
do?
yourselves.
So I think it's more of a discussion at this point.
Yep.
About what's the important
About where you want
priorities.
everything here, what you want to try.
Yeah.
I'll start because I'm excited. Strategic goals here, I think it's slide 21. Clay, you put the number 1 as the number 1. I don't know if
Those are not in order of importance. They're in the number
I know.
the order I've previously saw
I'm
them in.
inferring importance on your number
Okay.
1, and I'm just excited about this. So I don't know if Richard, if you can bring it up. I think it's slide 21, strategic goals. Number 1, promote and communicate success and mission of Chehalem Park and Recreation District. I think I'm going to say a few things, and I can't speak for the prior board. I can only speak for myself, but that's I
Please
feel
do.
like that's why you're here.
I want to hear.
Communication is so strong. It's such an important issue. And I think this district does incredible things in this community. I think we do a lot for free that most citizens do not know about. We take care of properties that the school district owns, that the county owns, and we do it with no financial compensation. We do a lot of things, just picking up youth sports from the school district when they were having trouble over a decade ago, for example. The one thing we don't do well, or we haven't done well, in my estimation, the last 10, 15 years, is communicate those things. We do not communicate our wins. We also don't have the freedom within staff, from what I can see, to promote themselves and their departments. I know youth sports is a big one. We just came out of election season, and if you guys weren't hearing what I was hearing, I mean, I don't know where you were, but everyone has their story about coaching, reffing, youth sports, fields, maintenance, all these kinds of things. And we have to modernize. We absolutely have to modernize. Our coaches, our volunteers, give them swag, make them happy, shake their hands, have a barbecue. These are the things, they seem small, but we haven't been doing these. And I understand the philosophy was stay humble, do the work in the background, and we did do that, and our staff does do that. But we are taking a lot of slings and arrows because we don't promote ourselves, we don't communicate well, and I don't think we give the staff the ability to kind of make some of these things fun and to tell people thank you for your service, thank you for coaching, what can we do, what can we do to help you out, what can we do to make your experience better. So I know the prior board, when we had this discussion, it really probably overly focused on projects, potentially, because there's kind of a reset and where are we going with all this. But I think number one here on strategic goals is the thing that we need to just absolutely hammer away on. We need a new perception in the community. And part of that, as I said 2 years ago, is also getting along a little better with our local communities, whether they be governments or whatnot, whether that be the county, the school district, the city of Newberg, the city of Dundee. And I think we've made leaps and bounds improvements in that. Hence Sander Park, it was stuck for 4 years. We got it unstuck. And some of that stuff is what we need to do. Staff can do what they can do, but we got elected. We're the face of this district, and we should be going to the meetings. We should be making friends. We should be talking to counselors, commissioners, school board members, and we need to make things happen. And parroting on that, the biggest thing that I see from our capital improvements, and one of our goals was turf fields, sport complex, Rennie Field. Those things are all right now Rennie Field. That is what we have in terms of sports complexes. And my disappointment has been in the last couple of years, we're still not moving on. I mean, we're kind of moving, but we haven't broken ground on that. And we still have not communicated to this community how important, how vital this project is. You talk to a lot of people or you check a Facebook group, they're still complaining about this, like this is a bad thing. And if everyone actually saw the value of this project, I'd say the community of Newberg Dundee, this would be a 90-10 issue. People want improvement in that side of town. People do not want the crime and the eyesore that we currently see in Rennie Field. So we need to keep plugging away. The school board, changes every 6 months, right? So we need to communicate with them, promote what we're doing, and we need to get those projects done. That's all I got.
Matt, I'm gonna have to agree with you as far as getting us out there. It's always been my mantra and disappointment a lot of times that we haven't got out there, that they don't know that there is a Chehalem Park and Recreation District here in this area and what we do. So I'm 100% behind you on that. I'm marketing us that way, getting it out there so they don't call us the city of Newberg doing recreation. So, and nothing against the city of Newberg, they're a great partner, but I want people to know that they're paying their taxes to support recreation, so, yeah. And I think one of the things with Rennie, and I don't disagree with you, but that's probably got some infrastructure issues that could come up through the city, so that's maybe what's holding it up, but I don't know how much our staff can take on either when we do all these projects at one time. This is the first time, I remember when I was doing projects before, you know, the aquatic center and the cultural center kind of overlapped a little bit, but I pretty much had one at a time and got through them and went to the next. Now it's like kaboom, and so we got to really make sure that our staff is supported, you know, sometimes professionally outside of here, so to get these projects done. And we talked about that as the three of us when we brought Gary on to try to push that forward in the Sanders Park, so I'm glad it's there. So I don't disagree with you there. I think we need to get out there.
Yeah, I'm on board too, because I mean, the number one comment I got door knocking was, "We love our parks," which is awesome, right? That's exactly what you want to hear. And so, I mean, not that I want to brag, but I think the organization should brag about what the public has access to, encourage people to get off their couches and go golf, go hike, ride a horse, you know, whatever. So anything that we can do as a board to encourage the public, I'm all for.
But the other thing that we heard, and all of us have heard, whether we're campaigning or not, you know, make sure you maintain what you have. And that's a big deal. And so that needs to be, I mean, new is great. I definitely want new in some things, and the public definitely wants new this and that. But we got to take care of it, like we're taking care of the tennis and courts and pickleball courts right now. We got to stay on top of that, and that takes money, and it takes staff, and it takes focus, and not getting too spread out.
So I have spent the last 2 years on this board, which I am so thankful to have been part of this board. And some of the things that I know is I believe that we should make sure that when we have all these volunteers who are volunteering for being referees at all these different things, I want to make sure that they have t-shirts, okay, that are CPRD. I mean, these guys are giving out their time. I want to make sure that they have CPRD t-shirts. The other thing is we have a tremendous amount of projects in our list of things that we would like to do. And I will tell you that as I have been going to these meetings, the number one most important thing is ball fields, whether it's soccer fields, whether it's softball fields. There's nothing more important than that. I want to make this clear. I am not opposed to trails. But when we start talking about spending $79 million in trails, think about buying a piece of property in which we can have ball fields for, you know, hundreds of kids to be able to use versus trails that there are people that are going to use these trails, but to spend $79 million on trails, I think that we should be spending money on pieces of property in which we can support our students, our families, and I think that's really, really important. I think that's more important than the trails. Does not mean that I'm opposed to our trails, because I think trails are a great outlet, but $79 million on trails is outrageous. So the other thing is you know, I will say this, and we talk about the Bonnie Benedict School, and I know in our last meeting we talked about the fact that it was losing $169,000 a year. And I'm not saying that Bonnie Benedict is the place in which we need to have daycare, but I think this is an essential thing that the community needs, regardless whether we make money or not. I think that we need to have something. We've been doing this for the last 50-some years, and I don't think we should let that go by the wayside, regardless whether it's Bonnie Benedict, whether it's a new facility. But I think it's something that we should continue to give to the community. I think it's an incredibly important thing, and that's my position.
Yeah, so I think in kind of one thing that we've all mentioned and we have all heard a lot of is the sports fields. One thing
Yes.
that I think would be helpful to see, and this might be part of an assessment you're talking about, Clay, is what's our current inventory of sports fields? What is our average number of teams in participation? And we can probably fairly easily, in black and white, see this is how much field space we need in the fall, in the winter. So winter, that's going to be, we need turf. Spring into summer. And I think that would be helpful to, actually set goals that can help us move forward. Because I think we all agree there needs to be updated fields, more fields, but how many more? What do those updates look like in order to serve the youth sports?
If I could just segue with you for a second, I don't mean to interrupt, but that's really the deal here is that what do we actually need? Because I can tell you from being a coach, let's say at the aquatic center when I did water polo, I wanted these hours. These are the hours that I wanted. But Joe and Mary and Fred and everybody else wanted those hours. So we don't have enough space. So we really need to analyze it to make sure people say that, and I get that, I live that, but we really need to make sure what are the facts on the fields or anything else, and then go and say, yeah, we need to build 5, we need to build 2, we need to build none, whatever it's gonna be. I think we need to do that. So that was a good comment.
I think the staff had previously said, and I don't know how dated the information is, but that based on our population and the number of youth athletes that we service, there should be a minimum of 2 to 3 turf fields. We have 0, we're now building 1. So we know we're suffering on that side. And I think, I can't speak for Brian, but I'm sure having turf fields gives you the ability to actually properly maintain some of our grass fields, which get destroyed by voles, moles, rain rot, overuse, the inability to ever give them a rest. So I think, we could do a feasibility study of some sort, or staff could just put together what is the industry standard for parks, but no matter how we cut it, we need more turf.
Nick, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, and I agree, Matt. I think that, even if we could see how many teams for soccer on average, and that break it down. This is how many hours are in a day of daylight. This is how much space we need, and I think that would be helpful. But we're kind of talking specific issues here, which I think is good. But do we want to look at this list of the 2023 strategic goals and kind of go through line by line and see what is still applicable and what is not, and add to it to give ourselves and the staff some sort of direction on what we're thinking goal-wise?
I think we can. I want to hear what Brandon, do you want to say anything before we do that?
No, sounds good.
Okay. The other thing, when you bring up a number for the trails, or any of these, it's 50 years out. It's not tomorrow we're going to build this much money in trails. I'll be gone, physically, but they're still going to be there. So you have to plan out that far on a lot of these things to get what you want for this community that's going to double in size or triple in size 30, 40 years from now. So anyway, with that said, if you want to go through each one of these, and I'm going to let Clay, if you want to introduce each one of those topics, and we'll go from there. And then we want to discuss each one.
All right. Well, do we want to, if we're just going to go down through the goals, then I would say promote and communicate success and mission of Chehalem Recreation District.
Do you think that as a staff, you guys, because I think we all agree that this is a really important thing that we need to keep on there as a strategic goal. Do you feel that that sort of broad topic gives you enough direction of the type of communication and promotion?
For this particular one, it may, but hearing it again and hearing that, yes, in fact, it's important to everyone, including the people who just arrived, who just spent a bunch of time knocking on doors, is helpful. And I will say that we've got a couple of things that I wouldn't consider strategic goals. They're more kind of the tactics that we're going to use to do that. And so I think that within the next year, and even within the next 6 months, you'll see a couple of things coming out. We're thinking of things like a district-wide mailer that would be a small, kind of like single-pager type thing, as well as the return of the user guide, which we don't know what we're going to call it yet, in some form. But I think that essentially our communications, we swung them a certain direction and we went wholly digital. We're trying to find the right thing. We don't want to leave any of our users in the cold either. So if certain portions of our community want something tactile to flip through or whatever, to make it available, we'll just make sure we're not spamming everyone in the entire district with something that they don't need. So we're trying to be thoughtful.
I will tell you guys, that just as a citizen, to have something come through the mail that says, did you know that we have this, that, or whatever, I just think it's very valuable because, you know, there's a lot of people that are not interested in going online or receiving an email and going through and trying to learn themselves. And if you have something that comes to the mail and you actually get to look at something and say, oh, wow, I didn't realize that you can go take your horse to Bob and Crystal Riley Park and go ride, or hopefully we'll have a paddle launch soon. You know, I just think that that is very, very valuable. Just talk about all the different locations that we have and what you can do within CPRD.
All right. Well, if that means I need some of you to act as ambassadors in the future as part of that, I might call on you because I should say that, you know, being the new shiny superintendent, I've been welcome to give a handful of presentations already. And so with your networks, if you want to be our kind of ambassadors in chief, all 5 of you, that's okay too. And so you are welcome to make an introduction and hand it off to staff. It doesn't necessarily need to be me. Or if you want to give your own presentations on behalf of these because it's your network, let me know as staff what we can do to give you a kit so you can go out there. And if that means some brochures and trail guides, if that means a PowerPoint slide deck, you're welcome to talk to your people. So we'll be happy to empower you too, but yes, we can definitely do that stuff, and I agree with you.
Yeah, and I'm specifically talking about having some kind of a mailer. I would like to see, I mean, look, I'd like to have a budget, and I realize we've already got our budget figured out, but I would really like to have a mailer that goes out to every single Yamhill County resident, maybe more than once in a year, that just says, these are the types of things that we offer, and I just think it would be good for us, because then they know what they're...
Same page on this, yeah.
Okay.
Then they know what they're paying for through their taxes.
That's helpful to know that, you know, that wouldn't look funny to you, even if, because I mean, that could be an increase in the marketing budget, but if that seems like money well spent to make sure people know that they're already paying for stuff and we want them to come use it, that's okay.
Absolutely.
And I'll throw,
No, go for it.
okay, I'll throw a couple other things. I know I already mentioned freeing up staff, and there's probably budgeting there to do more thank you to the volunteer stuff, especially in the youth sports space. That will go so far. It's not even funny to just change perception and value. The other thing is forward-facing space. I know we have the Yellow House over by the Cultural Center in the Cultural District that we're currently not really using. I think having a space where someone could go, potentially a CPRD employee or a volunteer or something like that, with our brochures, our information, and a way to centrally sign people up for classes, tell them what trail to go to, tell them what park to go to for what they need. That would go a long ways. I know we kind of do that at the Aquatic Center, and that, you know, that's probably a bit hit or miss, you know.
Okay.
I'll just be, you know, blunt on that. But we have the space, so, you know, is it something we could run like a Chamber of Commerce Center where it's, you know, full-time? Probably not, but we could probably do a little bit more. And then during community events, you know, have a space that's the CPRD place, right? Whether it be art walks, tunes on Tuesdays, cultural center, activities, that kind of thing.
I do want to give a shout out for the trail guys though, because when I talked to the Chamber of Commerce, it's their #1 hit,
Yeah.
which is great. So
And
thank
we've
you.
even had folks from the Dundee Hotel come pick those up and those sorts of things. So especially when we have something like a user guide come out or something like that that seems tangible, like people want it. You know, we want to work with our people that are coming in town as visitors as well as the people that are already here. And we are starting to see that there's getting some traction, and that is a popular piece.
Sure. I would love to hear ideas from the public and staff, because we've got a lot of creative people in the community. And like 2 ideas that popped into my mind, you know, we've talked about a potential adopt a park program where people who live in a certain neighborhood, they could form a group together to have regular meetings guided by staff where they could do cleanups or minor maintenance to alleviate some of the budgetary issues that comes with maintenance. When I was on the East Coast recently, I visited some lighthouses and they sold these little passport things. You could get a passport in every lighthouse you go to, you get a stamp. So I mean, just little fun things like that whether it's fiscally, reasonable or not is up for discussion, but something to encourage people to get out, especially if they buy the passport. And then when you get a certain amount of stamps with the lighthouse thing, you get like a pin, but just.
Let's move on then
Yeah.
to the next one, the plan for the Dundee Community Center.
So the biggest question I have for the board on this one, is when we build Sander Estate Park and we get to the phase where we build the event space that's there, is that mission complete? Or is there something else that we're talking about here when we say Dundee Community Center?
At different points in time, I think there has been something else. I think the board had briefly discussed potentially purchasing the Dundee Elementary School from the Newberg Dundee School District and using that as multi-purpose, part community center, part daycare services. That didn't end up transpiring. I know.
Was it sold?
I don't know if it has sold or not.
Well, and the other part of it, I think that, I don't mean to interrupt, the other part of this is that, is there a need?
There is a need.
And so, but the community needs to tell us, not me or.
Well, they have told us.
Is there a need outside of what will be accomplished at Sanders Park, I think
Right.
is my question. Because there is a need for a community space, but, something in addition to that, and is that something we should keep on the strategic
Well, I know,
goals?
and you were on some of these meetings too. The city of Dundee's focus is they wanted a space for farmers markets, for community gatherings and stuff like that.
Which we
And
did
so we're
some.
trying to provide that
Yeah.
as part of the Sander
Yeah.
Park, Sander Estate project. So, but the discussion and where this came from on strategic goals, I think, was a mixture of different things.
I see.
And my understanding is that's no longer an option or no longer something we're talking about. So I think our focus probably, to answer your question, probably more on Sander Park, creating that event space, that meeting space, the outdoor area, and the farmer's market area.
Casey, you have a comment?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my understanding of that when we designed out the Sander Estate, which is, probably gonna be more in the neighborhoods of over $10 million by the time full final build out. Cause this is phase 1 we're doing. There's phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4. That was the plan, and to also have it rezoned for park, so
Yeah.
we can hold other community events there, right?
So we're moving on then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey Clay, I'm wondering if it might be a good idea for us to have some kind of a sheet that shows what projects we're working on that we could send out to all the board members, specifically our new board members, so that they have an idea of what is in the works, what are we working on, so that they will be up to speed in case they don't know all the different projects and where we're at on those. That might be kind of, and I'd like to have that
Yeah.
updated.
We can do that, and I actually saw, there was somebody, different entities, kind of user guide, catalog type thing, where they had active projects section, and they had a consistent methodology where they listed something as concept, InDesign, construction, and there was something else that I can't remember. But we could do those, so there's a consistent characterization, because some of these things are in what I would consider concept development, or even pre-concept, where we're still kind of kicking the tires and figuring out if it'll work, but we're still spending time on it.
Right.
And so, and it's just that those are not tangible things. Those are things to figure out,
Yeah.
does this have legs, which is still important.
Yeah, that would be super, so that we have an idea of what we need to prioritize our time with, and what's coming up in the future, what have we already spent our time on. I think that would be good.
Number 3 is the development of the Chehalem Cultural Center and District. I can tell you that the building is 90% completed, but the west wing and the room on the top to the west are not completed. So to complete that in today's dollars, not next year's dollars, It's probably about $1 million to do that, but I'm not saying to do that, I'm just saying that's where it's at.
And and this could be for anybody, but I know that Jim's been around the cultural center probably the most, but I'd be curious on anyone, folks know. What's the role of CPRD in getting from 90% to further down the road?
Well, and I would look at that specific project, and I would look at what is CPRD getting from that project? Are we actually getting any revenue from spending these dollars for that project? Or are we just spending and spending and spending?
We're not spending money on projects. Most of the development on the cultural center has been paid for through the nonprofit.
Okay.
The cultural center. So like, we didn't pay anything for the theater in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a community, it's our.
It was all donations,
Yeah.
okay?
Donations and grants.
Okay.
So anyway, I don't know if we need to go there right now. I mean, we'd have to have a conversation with us and the cultural center nonprofit to see where we're at.
Yep.
I don't look at that right now. I don't have it as a high priority compared to some of the things we need to do.
I think what I would say is with the district, the yellow house there, the parking area there, around that, I think that is an opportunity for us to, without spending a lot of money, we could probably have more impact.
To kind of
in the
promote
district.
ourselves in the downtown area.
Well, the parking lot is, I believe it's owned by the city.
Yeah, I know that, but I'm just like positioning where that yellow house is.
The cultural center.
No, there's a parking area right off of 99, and then we own the yellow house there that is being used by the.
Okay, so moving on, plan for the third nine and clubhouse at the Chehalem Golf Course.
I,
Well, they've got the feasibility
Yeah.
study
Yeah.
out for bid, right?
It's not out yet, it's not live, but it should be as soon as the superintendent can make time to get it on the street. And so we've got and I would say, big kudos specifically to Tony Roos, who wrote up something that we're able to repurpose, and he's a professional transportation engineer, so he knows what kind of other development professionals kind of expect to see in an RFP. So once I can get some focus time to get that out, it should be in the next week or two. So, and we've got a couple of folks who are with firms that have reached out kind of
Prematurely.
with a lot of not anxiety, enthusiasm to get there and asked us like, hey, is this on the street already? And so we've added them to an interested parties list. So as those come in, they're going to get directly notified too. And so I appreciate that our golf course clubhouse committee has gotten people interested already. So there's a little buzz around that.
Yeah, the committee's done a lot of work, but it's always been my mantra, and I think the committee knows this, that whoever we hire, everyone understands golf course is professional, but is impartial. That they'll give us the facts, and only the facts, not what people want, but only that, and then we can make a intelligent decision for our taxpayers, which way we're gonna go. I hope it works out. I'm not a golfer, but I know how much people enjoy it out there and the economic viability of that for our community. But we need to make sure we do it right, because that's gonna be a big number. So, any other thing on the golf course? Okay, prioritize Chehalem Park and Recreation District projects with job generation.
can I speak to that?
Yeah.
That was ramrodded through by former board member Mike Ragsdale.
Can we get you on a microphone so that the recorded folks can hear you? Thank you, Don.
Hi, I'm Don Levitt. I used to be on this board. That point was ramrodded through by former board member Mike Ragsdale. God bless him. Still have lunch with him a couple times a month at least. Back in the era when, the catchphrase for the world, or at least for the United States, was shovel ready. Okay? We went along with it, but I mean, the reality is, this district doesn't have a lot of projects that are gonna, create jobs, and certainly not jobs past maybe some initial construction or whatever. I never felt that it belonged on a list like this, and I still don't. It's my 2 cents.
And thank you, Don, for that comment. And I would point out that I think this is one of the ones that on the slide that's kind of got the tabled matrix, that I don't think I had anything underneath it because I didn't really know how that fit with anything else.
With all that said, what we do here in our park district, if we can offer employment to the people that live here, and we have the ability to do that, that's a great thing.
And,
So,
and actually, I need to retract what I said. Not only was I wrong, I was as wrong as I could have been. This actually has more blue squares in the column than anything else. If you look at anything we do, that we actually have these through all of our special services. So any special service we offer has got jobs attached to it. Frankly, our basic services do too, but just in different ways when we have facilities. So in my mind, even though that doesn't have specific objectives behind it, it's already carried out through our special services as well as others and a lot of the facilities.
We have 208
Employees.
employees.
Yeah.
Well, is it a strategic goal or just a philosophy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be, you know, it's not necessarily a strategic goal. It inherently happens given the size of our district and the services, you know, I don't think it needs to be on that list or something that needs to be focused on too much.
okay, are we in agreement there?
Yeah,
Okay.
delete.
I mean, we always listen to that anyway. Number 6, develop the heritage trail system along the river that connects communities and parks. Off the cuff, I get this trail magazine and I have a bunch of them and I don't want to collect them. So I thought I'd share one each with you guys. You can look through what other communities throughout the nation are doing in trails.
Yeah.
Not that we'll do some of the fancy stuff they're doing, so you just grab one, they're all doing.
Can you define the heritage trail systems? Because I think somewhere else it says, where was that? It says heritage trail systems, but not. Yeah, so on this, on the output results graph, it's listed heritage trail system, in parentheses, separate from bypass trail. So can you define kind of exactly what we're talking about there?
Staff, you want to go first?
Separate.
The Heritage Trail Plan was put together in about 2010. Agrimus.
A little closer, Casey.
Agrimus
Thanks.
landscape architects brought that, and so they looked into all the ways that they could build trails out to surrounding areas of Newberg and
Yeah.
connect to other trail systems, including sidewalks and, you know, going down drainways, getting easements from property owners, anything that they could do to get outside of the Newberg area in a safe manner. Using, you know, talking to the city and using some of the needs that the city has down in the drainways, because a lot of the drainage, storm water goes down through the canyons, and they do have inspection facilities down there that they have to look at. And it's, you know, they say $76 million. Well, it's a lot of miles. It's 76 million or 76 miles or something like that. But it's not all to do with hours. Certainly there's going to be some signage involved to get people down sidewalks and cross roads and things like that. But it's not just us developing trails or new trails. It's working with people to give the residents access through some of these other areas.
So.
And it is a big report, and
Right.
it's got all kinds of information, and I believe it's on our website, Kat?
It's still on there.
It's on our website. So if you want more information about it, it's there.
Nice.
And
So-
it's,
so
it's
the thing-
mentioned in city documents and a lot of things.
You know, in all the, I think it's 40 grants that I'm reviewing right now, part of getting all those grants is trail systems is one of the main things that they want, and that's one of the main things that was looked at in most counties in the state. It's the #1 recreational activity by NRPA in the country. Because the thing with trails, and I'm not talking going up the side of mountains or anything like that. The thing with trails is that once they're built, they're free to use. It's not like going to the golf course, it's not like going to the swimming pool, it's not like going to a campground. You have to pay, so anyone can use them, and all ages can use them. And that's why it's so popular, whether it be in Eugene, whether it be in Boise, whether it be in some of the towns that I visited that are a tenth of the size of this town. So that's why, I keep looking at trails, because they're well used and they will be used. And the other thing is they connect our community outside of roads. And so the bypass trail for one, yeah, it's expensive, I get that. But it's gonna connect two communities, and not only for recreation and exercise, but also for tourism, because people are begging for that in the wine industry and in our communities and with the restaurants. So there's a lot to it, more than just a trail. So, but we have trails that I'm not sure I agree with, that if you go, let's go over by Rennie's school, and there's a sign that says, this road trail or that road trail gets you to this place in 10 miles or 2 miles. I don't know how many people use those, but that's a form of a trail. And so I think that it's important for our district, because every district is looking at it, every city is looking at it, because the public wants it. And when I went out talking to people about trails, I've never had anybody say no. Now, they might say no to the price, I get that part, but they want to have that recreational activity in our community, because it will make, at the end of the day, because it's free, it'll make our communities, our district more livable. And that's what I look at. But anyway, that's why they're there. What the number is, cost-wise, depends on concrete anymore. So,
Question for you, Casey. These trails, the master plan for these trails, do
Yep.
they go through any private property at this time?
I don't know for a fact. I know I have an easement behind my house, because it was developed kind of before that phase that they were looking at things like that. And it just provides another short trail through the woods to get from one road in Newberg to another road.
I will tell you, as a young person, which I was once, I used to ride my bicycle from basically Portland to Milwaukee, and I could ride most of the way on a bike path. And I think it's awesome. It's awesome because it's safe, all right? Unfortunately, we got all the homeless garbage that happened in Portland, and it totally ruined that. I hope that we can keep from having that here in Yamhill County. But the one thing that I would say about trails, which I am 100% in favor of, other than I am very concerned about the cost. There's zero chance I would want to support spending $79 million on trails. And I want you guys to know, when we talk about spending $79 million, that's today's cost. Okay, this is going to be a project that's going to take several years, and every year that cost dramatically increases. The fact of the matter is, if this property goes through any personal property, whether that be somebody's backyard, whether that be somebody's farmland, I am not in favor of any of that, because you ruin their property by doing that, unless you have their absolute unconditional support. I would not steal anybody's property. And one of the things that we have done, Don Clemens was absolutely, he was right on line. He basically said, we will never take somebody's property so that we may build a project. And that is something that I believe in.
We will never do that.
I love the fact that you say that.
Yeah, we've never been into eminent domain.
Right, and I could second
Okay.
that. I don't see how eminent domain would ever be a thing that we
You can
could
talk to them.
even exercise.
Okay, I just want you guys to know
You
this
can
is
get
all being
permission.
recorded, and I love that
Yeah.
you guys are saying that.
We've been approached by landowners.
Yes.
That actually want to put trails around the
Yes.
property. And in my case, I have an easement behind my house. If
Yes.
they ever want to put a trail there, they're more than welcome to do it.
And I think that's wonderful. If we could possibly build our entire trail system without hurting somebody's personal property rights, I am 100% all in favor of that.
Okay.
So, except for $79 million.
We should be bringing that up. We're not spending that for,
I know, it'll be $150 million by the time we build
And,
this.
you know, because it's been brought up, I would also say that we don't have anything actionable about that
Right.
$79 million figure. I think that was probably from that report, probably at a very high level. And it's one of those things that when we do something like an SDC methodology report, we would have to say, is that in the time horizon that we're planning for? Or is a segment of it even in there?
Yeah.
And if we don't have something actionable, we'd have to consider whether or not it's relevant to put it in there.
Okay.
hey, anything else on trails?
I love them. I think they're great.
I like to hear that from you, buddy. Number 7 is acquire land for future parks.
Yeah.
I feel personally, I mean, acquire land for future parks. I feel like being opportunistic about land that comes available. You know, I don't know if we have the money to go out and buy a bunch of land, but opportunistic when things come up, I think benefits the district.
I think one thing that we have still got to find, is we've got to find a great place for kids to be able to ride their bicycles on. That is a commitment that we made, and I think that's something that we need to work towards, period. The other thing that I think that we need to do is we need to find more property for ball fields. We do not own those pieces of property. If we did, we would have those. And I will tell you, as a board member and sitting on this for the last 2 years, the number one most asked about thing was to have a piece of property in which people, kids could play either soccer or softball or whatever. But the thing is it is massive. The need is massive. And the reason why it's massive, we're not just talking about buying a piece of property in which you put a ball field on. We're talking about a piece of property that is maintained so that you don't have gopher holes that they have to worry about. So I think it's very important that is part of our priority.
Anything else on this, you folks? So just so you know, we have things drop in our lap. To give you an example, when we purchased the Armory building, you know, we weren't very well off then, this district, but it was like, I think it was like $350,000 or something, $400,000 was the cost for all those buildings and everything. So we decided to do that, and those opportunities come up every once in a while, so we just have to be, and I know the staff will bring it to our attention, to be aware when we get one of those opportunities, or, and some land, you know, we can trade too, so it's always there. But anyway, develop and improve neighborhood parks, number 8.
I think, in my opinion, this can kind of go hand in hand with the previous one in a roundabout way, because I'd be interested in just learning, based on what we have, how things can be kind of creatively utilized. I've visited every park with my kids over the last few months and kind of written some notes down, and I know some have huge fields, and I'm sure most people just enjoy it with their dogs and stuff. And just, I'd be curious, what's the feasibility of a field there? You know, is it totally out of the question? Is it realistic? So having some sort of assessment, kind of going back to what we have, some sort of unbiased opinion on what land is already in the park district that can be used for some of these needed activities, so that you spend less money acquiring new land, and whatever you can't use, then you look for the previous one, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's a good observation, and I think that, you know, bring that to staff, and they can discuss that with you there and that type of thing.
Yeah, and I think kind of in line with that, it's no question that most of our parks and specifically playgrounds need upgrades or will need upgrades in the next 5 to 10 years. So I think, similarly to doing an assessment on how the real need for fields, how much acreage do we need, doing an assessment on all the playgrounds of, all right, which do we prioritize? I see it in the 5-year outlay in here, but which are priority, and what are the associated costs with that? Does it need a whole new play structure, or does it need upgraded slides, safety equipment, things like that?
Sorry, did you want to?
I actually would like to respond to Nick real quick. Brian, I was going to point to you, Brian, if you'd like to give them a little information about what we do to monitor those and what we do know, and what we do to keep an eye on things.
The monitoring, we do quite well as a district. We have a certified playground instructor, inspector on staff. He does a marvelous job with that. I'd like to bring up the point that everybody on that board mentioned that community is engaged with them, and one of their top priorities was taking care of what we have. And what we have is the inventory of our playgrounds. We have 21 playgrounds in the district. The average age of our playgrounds is 21 years old. We have 8 playgrounds that are over 25 years old. The standard in the industry is the low end is 10 years and the high end is 15 years to replace your playgrounds.
What was the low end?
10 years. And obviously, there's no exact science because they're all a little bit different based on how many hours of usage is going on in a certain park. So as you can see, we have a lot of playgrounds, a lot of neighborhood playgrounds. We have a lot of old neighborhood playgrounds. So we are definitely way behind the 8 ball in upgrading. The average cost nowadays, with the average footprint we have at the playgrounds, is upwards of $250,000. To just do to do a nice playground.
How much?
$250,000.
$225,000.
And is that to basically?
That's for the structure. And then you can get into the surfacing, if we
Yeah.
want all-inclusive, which I think we should moving forward as a district. No matter what, move away from the bark chips or whatnot. That adds easily another $100,000 into that.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's square footage of all, whatever.
Yeah.
These are the numbers. I'm dealing with people right now. And you're seeing a lot of communities that, yes, they're going out for levies, or they have bonds or whatever, that they can afford to do that. If you go up to Sherwood, Tiger, Tualatin, they're all rocking and rolling and putting new playgrounds in.
I know a lot of folks ask if certain parts or pieces can be improved or added on to. My understanding is for the most part they can't be, because they're all proprietary structures and the technology's changed and
Absolutely, there's a lot of instances of that. We are constantly, and not constantly, but I have probably $30,000 right now in the pipeline of slides that are being replaced or whatever, different pieces of equipment. And that's from newer parts, and so, not necessarily older parts, so. And yes, there's a lot of obsolete equipment that we own. We have a 25-year-old playground structure. The odds aren't very good that you can find that slide or whatever anymore. So it's challenging, absolutely. It's definitely something I think the board should be aware of. And I as staff or anybody we need to figure out a way to pay for that. Jim alluded to that when we started the meeting tonight. But these are things that, we need to think about when we, have such a large capital outlay going on.
The playgrounds I'm reviewing with the state, they're all inclusive right now that I'm looking at, $500,000. It's because the surfacing, if you put the rubber surfacing in there,
Plus turf or what?
plus the turf, it's as much as the playground costs. And then we're not talking installation either, so it's
There's a lot of
crazy.
benefits to that, a lot of upside, just like you're doing turf fields, right? So there's a lot of benefits doing your playgrounds that way moving forward, and just doing the right thing too, to be as inclusive as you can with the community, taxpayers and their kids.
and they're easier to maintain, I'm assuming, than the older structures. The way the modern construction of these playgrounds.
Yeah,
Easier for staff.
Well,
we do it in-house, we could definitely install them.
Well, I'm talking about the maintenance ongoing,
Oh.
where
you know.
Yeah, as opposed to the old metal slide and
Yeah.
stuff like that, right. But there's still, you still run into issues. I mean, there's a percentage of people out there that vandalize stuff. And-
Right.
Hey, I'd like to say something if I could. My wife is just awesome. She just ordered us a couple of pizzas here. I had no idea she was going to do this. Regardless whether it's professional or not, I'm eating it. You guys have a pizza down there. Help yourself. I know all you people in TV land are watching this. So, anyways, I love my wife, and thanks for putting up with me here in this meeting here today. Brian, come over here and have a piece of pizza.
Well,
We-
no, till we resolve the
Do
play.
you guys want to do a 5-minute body break anyway?
Does anybody need a break right now? I'm gonna go ahead and say, let's do that for 5 minutes.
Can we finish the playground discussion while it's fresh on our minds and then break
Okay.
after discuss
That's fine.
playground?
I'm gonna
At once,
I just want you to know.
Yeah, I think, Brian, I mean, I think that this needs to be at the top 3 to 5 of the list to be on our minds because, 21 parks, if we keep kicking the can down the road, they're not going to get cheaper. And playgrounds really add to the livability of the community. It's a free thing for families to go do in their neighborhood. So I do think in some fashion this needs to stay on the strategic goals, and at least personally I think it should be high up there to at least start chipping away at some of these 21 parks, especially these 8 that are over 25 years old.
Well, I will say on that note that both Matt and I ran on taking care of our existing parks. And taking care of our existing parks means if we have playground structures that need to be replaced, repaired, we need to make that a priority prior to spending millions of dollars, like $79 million, on trails.
I think you beat that one to death.
So,
Anyway, I adjourn for a 5-minute break. Thank you.
I was gonna make a suggestion on how we do this, get through the goals, we don't have to do everything.
You're gonna keep repeating the get a piece of pizza, just like this.
Okay, 2-minute warning.
Just like the parents.
Hey, we got through a whole box. That's awesome. You.
Jason.
Hey, don't thank me. Thank my wife. I had no idea this was coming. Did you get a piece?
I didn't want any, I'm leaving.
Okay.
But I felt bad because I thought, do I tip him?
Well, it's wonderful to see you.
Well, thanks,
Okay.
Jason, you too. Hey,
Yeah.
I have a question for you.
I have an answer.
Oh, good, so, I was just listening to you,
Yes.
you're pretty sure that you don't like it that CPRD doesn't take from, try to do eminent domain.
Oh, yeah.
In
No,
any
I'm
way.
not for that at all.
What about the other way around? Should farmers be able to hike that public property?
No, I don't believe in that either.
Okay.
If a farmer owns their chunk of land, I believe they paid for that land, they should be able
Yeah,
to do
I
what
see
they
you
want
walked
with
away.
it. On the other hand, if,
Cozy over here.
now, I'm gonna say this, the one,
We're gonna get through this enough.
let's hypothetically.
I think that's all.
Okay.
And you guys tell
So
me if
you
there's
have-
things that you want to follow up on?
You have a farm here,
Farm, and
okay?
let's say a railroad went right through here, hundreds of years,
Yeah,
for 100 years.
Well,
They don't own
and
that, the
I'll be happy
railroad's
to
no
take a
longer
crack at
here.
refining, and what I was
Those are
thinking
now
is, I'm gonna say this on the mic, but I'll
Probably
refine
this
it, take
property.
a crack, send it to each of
No.
you individually for
Okay.
comments, you send them back, I'll try and.
What I'm
integrate
not
those, and then
for
There'll be the
is
version
this,
2.0
if
that
you
comes
have
to
a
the
piece of
board.
property here,
You guys tell me if you like
I
it.
am not for
And then once that's done, you'll be able to
taking
publish it to the website
section
as a
of this
public
property
property.
and making
It took
it
me
where
about
now.
5 minutes. Wait a minute.
You-
I always just call it, Riley.
It doesn't have to be
Trail.
an extensive exercise, that, to me, that's.
And now they cannot no longer
But
farm
then
this
these
piece
three
of
are all the
property
same
because
Yeah,
of the laws.
that's what I wrote on.
regarding
That was
No, no, you
as a
didn't.
developed river access.
Because now they have just,
yeah, what are we doing here? You're
because
doing
this is
hardware.
there's
Well,
a
part of it
setback
is,
of
you
how, where you
guys
can
having
spray
a
on.
productive
And I do
conversation
not
at your
believe in
first meeting
stealing that property from
is
them.
good stuff.
Okay,
right
let's,
there.
let's,
That doesn't quite
let's sit
homework on my
down
side.
and rock and roll.
This is for you guys to have.
Okay, we can talk about that.
Yeah, no, I get it.
The big objective doesn't require me to do anything else.
Here, Jason. You didn't get one
Oh,
of
that was
those.
for you, I gave one to each person to
Yeah.
kind of see what's out there.
He's
in the
gonna
world.
give you a book report and make sure that you.
Okay. I want
Okay,
this.
if we could all sit down and
We
read.
will. Let's get this back over here.
Okay,
Can I mention one last thing on parks, playgrounds specifically?
okay, we're gonna,
Let them reconvene.
You guys eat them all.
okay, we're back in order and the meeting is moving, so go ahead.
I just want to, I do want to advocate for however we can develop it to educate the public when it comes to repair, replacement, et cetera. And I know, like Brian was saying, he's got all this stuff in the works, but a lot of parents don't know that. They go to Ewing Young right now or Jakewith Park and slides are closed off or missing. And most parents would just think, why aren't they replacing it? And so instead of, Brian and his crew taking blame, it would be great to be able to somehow educate the public to say, hey, this is missing because of this. This is our plan to replace it. This is our hopeful timeline and something that's on the website or scanning. But I've talked to Clay a little bit about that, but that's all.
Okay, thanks. The next is plan and develop BCRP.
So right now, we have the master plan, and we have our marching orders on that. Staff is still aware that we do want basically bicycles, because they were a user group for a period of time, but we're basically doing development based on the master plan. We've got some funds that are going into, that are budgeted for some of that development, but I don't know. Brian, do you have anything you'd want to add on Bob and Crystal Riley Park?
So many moving parts. Good. Right now, referring to the budget that you talked about, what we have budgeted currently is for the sign package, and we are really close to rolling that out, thanks to working with a lot of volunteers on the Trails Committee. So that would be the first step, installing sign kiosks, master signs up there. As far as full development and continuing with that, that would be something that would need to be budgeted as we move forward.
Right, and
And to what extent we want to do that. And that would be something that would be, that dialogue hasn't gone any further. in terms of, other than signage of the trails and usage of the trail, you know, for the average person that shows up, and can get in and out and understand where they're at. As far as the amenities and anything that might be in that master plan, they're in there, and that discussion would be, you know, if we have direction to keep developing that, we would.
Yep.
I
And
know there's a lot of interest in that, obviously, and you're aware of that too, with the different groups and user groups too.
Brian, do you have any idea on what some of the, how you would characterize the usership up there right now with the state that it's in?
It is growing tremendously, day by day, literally. I mean, there are people there from sunup to sundown, no exaggeration, but really popular in the morning, and temperature dictate what's going on there. So weekends are really busy with the equestrian folks too, for sure. There's a core, but I was up there just the other day, a couple days ago, and I like to introduce myself and give people's feedback. That's a great time to do it as they're coming in and out of the trails. A lot of outside the district users that come from, the word is out, you know, they come from over the hill or from parts of, you know, Clackamas County as well as Washington County. And then there is definitely a core of people that are regulars from down here. Same thing that we've heard a million times, i.e. the mailer, and let's get the word out there and promote ourselves. Didn't know this thing existed. This is amazing. Didn't know you guys owned it. So I think that all goes hand in hand with rolling out a master plan and step by step with the signage, and then we can market it better and all that. So you gotta be careful, right? I mean, we're on track where we were, and all of a sudden we had this wonderful jewel that we acquired, and then and now we're developing it, and that takes time. So we weren't just gonna promote the hell out of it if we can't even, you know, make it safe for somebody to get at one end of the park to the other. It's coming along, and I think that the sky's the limit. It could definitely be, it has a lot of opportunity to do more than just be free in a trail. There's a lot of upside of special services could program there. And so there's a lot of opportunity there to recoup, as well as wonderful things that all age groups could do up there, and be it in a program or just enjoying it themselves.
Okay, anything else on that?
I did have a question. You don't have to have an answer for this, but I'm curious with the Camellia Festival, how profitable it is, you know, in comparison to all the planning and prep. It's not? Okay, that kind of answers if it's worth planning for something else like.
An expense.
Okay, good to know. That's helpful, because there's a lot of space up at Riley Park that there could be a 5K, 10K event if it were, you know, financially viable.
One of the things, and this is getting into the nuts and bolts and the business of things a little bit. The 5 and 10K still break even when we have 600 runners at the Camellia. It's still just breaking even when we've done ones that are small runs, even with a very nominal fee and keeping it as bare bones as possible, but we only end up with 60 or 70 runners, which would be like the old fashioned festival. It still costs us money. So the scale up is hard, and then with Bob and Crystal Riley in particular, it becomes parking and bathrooms. Yeah. So those are the hard things with that site in particular. And so some of the rentals you can do for special events still need to be somewhat small based on some of the limitations on amplified music, parking, and bathrooms. But we still want to operationalize that. We still want to make it so it could be doing something to help offset some of the costs. In part because Brian and his team, there's a lot of costs. There's a lot of trail mileage up there. And so it's a lot of time.
Have we got septic system up there at Bob and Crystal Riley Park? We do,
Right.
okay,
Brian?
Yeah, absolutely.
okay. It's only where the house is.
There's a house and there's a couch. There's a outbuilding that has a bathroom in the back.
Yeah.
Okay, but nothing
There is
nothing up where the riding area is, okay.
Correct.
That would just be outhouses, I take it, most
Yeah.
likely.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe smokers or
Okay.
you know, something to that effect.
And even, because I had the septic certified, and even with the septic there, it's limited to a certain amount of people.
I would think
So
so.
you just gotta be aware of that.
Yep.
Okay, moving on. Any other questions on Bob and Crystal? Okay. Develop property on Highway 219 and River, and I'm gonna kick 11 with it. Develop a campground on the river. So those two are kind of together in a way. Discussion?
Yeah, I think it would be really wise, if this is something that we would like to move along, I think it would be really wise to have a couple of board members, actually, and possibly our superintendent here, go out and actually visit some of the property owners between Wilsonville Road and our property, and find out, would they be willing to allow us, whether we buy it, whether we lease it, get a piece of property so that we can have a way to get from our property on Wilsonville Road. Okay, do you guys know we have a property on Wilsonville Road? Okay, so to go get from there to our property there off of 219, if we could do that, whether we buy a piece of property, whether we lease a piece of property, we put up our own fencing so that nobody can go and disturb their properties and throw garbage and all the rest. I just think that it would be really wise to do that. We haven't done that yet, but it is something that Matt and I think Jim have talked about in the past, and I think it would be really wise for us to actually go and speak to them and find out, would you guys be willing to do this? I know that when you're a property owner and you start thinking about people driving by your property, I think it can be really ugly, but if we were able to put up fencing and we could control that space, I think it could help us without having to worry about going down 219, because I believe 219 will make this cost prohibitive. So that's something I was just thinking about. I was talking actually with Clay earlier today. I think it's something that we should do. So
I know that we've addressed some areas to move it, to access that property in the past, and I'll talk to you about that at another time, but, yeah, I don't disagree with you. I know it'd be expensive to have that turn out there, for sure.
And having a board member or two that are interested in helping do some of that exploratory neighbor talks, because that is time consuming, and I will say that I don't mind doing that or anything else, but it starts becoming kind of a time competition. But if there are folks that are willing and interested to do it,
I am happy
that's fine.
to be part of that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think the other option is, I believe some of these lots may be in the urban growth reserve, I'm not certain, or they're part of the plan for potential UGB expansion for industrial
That
in the city of Newberg.
it could be that one of the things I would caution about that is that the city has been more than once pretty optimistic about that being successful and then had it remanded.
Okay.
So I think that we can keep an eye on it, but there are multiple things in the land use hierarchy that were unsuccessful. And one of the problems specific to Newberg, this is starting to get in some of the technical land use stuff, but there's in city, there's in urban reserve, and then there's your urban growth boundary. Or your urban growth boundary, and then your urban reserve areas. There's a giant chunk of urban reserve areas on the north side of Newberg that makes it look like there's some ripe land that's supposed to come into the city first, and as a result, they have a hard time saying we should be allowed to grow south. Because they've got too much up north. Even though that's all on a hill and it's kind of constrained, it's still designated that, so it bites them every time. And it did it in 2005, the last time it got remanded, and the city or the state said the same thing when the Bel Air's family, and they had a lot of arguments in their favor, and they also got the Urban Growth Boundary Commission, that's a county and city joint effort, and the Planning Commission, and the City Council, and the county, all to concur with them, and then the state sent it back. Because it didn't meet those land use criteria. There's a hierarchy, and the state was really clear. They showed up at multiple meetings and said, you're gonna get a no, and here's why. And they said again, and they said at another hearing.
Wow.
And so, you can kind of see it knocking, so it was painted out in front of them. So, unless something has changed, I don't know how that's successful. But, I mean, I wish them the best, and I think we should monitor that as they keep an eye on it.
That's definitely the easiest way to access that.
Definitely. So whoever took over as the liaison to the city of Newberg, if you see anything about urban growth boundary amendments, you should tune in.
Riveting information.
The next one, number 11, is to develop a campground on the river. You know, we were just at the infantile stage of planning that, or looking at that. But the reality is that we have no public campgrounds in our county at all. And talking to Shampooey in the past, they would love for us to have that campground there because they're always full. But, and the other part of it is that it wouldn't be feasible unless we found out that it could make a profit. And so I don't really have a, there would have to be a lot of research, and I'm not sure that's the top priority right now, but it's out there and people need to know that it could be a possibility down the road, especially if we're looking for revenue generating things.
Yeah.
So,
I'm gonna say that 10 and 11 are one and the same, okay?
yeah,
They're the same property.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna say it's like that movie that you watched with Kevin Costner. You build it, they will come, all right? And I'm gonna tell you that Shampooey Park is oversold. They are full. 10 and 11 are one and the same. Yeah, thanks for letting me say. Yeah, we're hearing it twice, but the fact of the matter is.
Richard, we're getting some feedback there.
Yeah, Richard, we got to hear me say it twice, which is wonderful because I love the sound of my own voice. No, but the fact of the matter is, guys.
Sorry about that. Checking the feed.
That's okay. The fact of the matter is, I think this is an important project for CPRD. I truly, with all my heart, believe that of any project we're ever going to do, I think this is something that Newberg needs. This is something that will, I believe, generate significant amounts of revenue. And you know what? We want those people that used to go to the other park. We want them to come to our park. Okay? We want them to spend money in our town in Newberg, and I think it's something that we should work towards. I believe that in order to make that happen, we got to figure out how in the hell we're going to get people to get on the property, because it's going to cost millions of dollars if they're going to come on 219. It will cost, I believe in my heart, considerably less if we can find a route in which we can come off of Wilsonville Road.
okay. Anything else on that? Develop a paddle launch along the river.
Incredibly important. This is something that when I was elected, this is something that I wanted to be a priority, and it's amazing how 2 years goes by and we still have no paddle launch, but we had big dreams. I believe this is something that we should do, whether it is done in Dundee or whether this is something in which we are able to either 219, which 219 is not a great spot for that because the river is running faster. However, if there was an opportunity, which there is an opportunity, for us to purchase the waterfront property, which was an old dump site, right next, it's not far from Rogers Landing, okay? It's 53 or 55 acres. That could not only be a spot in which we could have a paddle launch, but we could also have a bike riding place for it. It could be a dog walking place for it. Or here's another thing that would be incredible. This is one thing that we don't have here, and that is an amphitheater. That's just something that I would absolutely love to have. We cannot build on this property. I think there's 3 acres in which we can build on at the very top section, but and it's 53 acres, I believe, in total. But I believe a paddle launch is something that this county desperately needs. I know that I had personal friends that didn't know I was running for office, and after I was elected, they called me on the phone and said, "What are you going to do about getting us the ability to get on this piece of property that we used to have in Dundee?" I didn't know what we could do one way or the other. It sounds like that is a very good possibility. I think it's something that we need to keep working towards. Paddle launch is very important to all residents. So.
Well, access the river in general.
Access,
More
yes.
immediate. Any other comments on that?
Well, we had the whole Travel Oregon group come by and talk about that, so I think there's a lot of possibility to partner and get hopefully some grants. Save the taxpayers some money.
And that's one that we will keep the board posted. We're trying to explore all the options, and it's really the focus is that it's river access. We'll take it where we can get it. We want it to be there. One of the things we've heard from the Oregon Marine Board is that Rogers Landing is just one of the busiest sites along the river. And one of the things that's not ideal is that that leaves a lot of conflict between motorized users and non-motorized users. So we think that we would be, if we can get our foot in the door on something, whether it's a study at the Highway 219 property on what that needs to look like, which we're gonna be eligible for funding shortly for phase 2 of that Riverfront Reimagined program that we're doing. So that'll be, what's been tapped for that is it's expected that it would be a split between the available funds between us and the county. So trying to play nice with our neighbors. And that we would do a technical study on that Highway 219 property, again, the concept development, so that we could figure out what is the river access as a specific user that makes it most attractive for that kind of a user going to be. And then, but again, some of the things like accessing off Highway 219 would be a known stumbling block for that because it'd be so expensive. So if we could explore options for other alternative access to that, to activate that site, that would be pretty appealing. But we are still exploring and trying to talk to property owners about the old Dundee landing site too. And
Okay, moving on.
so far it's promising.
If there's anything else on that one, develop Sanders State Park, which is in phases. Anything on Sanders?
Well, I think,
Beside the good news?
yeah, I think we just keep moving forward on what we're doing. I think we've got a great thing going, and we just keep on moving forward.
This, anything else on that? 14, develop the riverfront in Newberg and Dundee. I think that's a given of what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah.
Is,
Well, I don't know.
is 14 any different than the other ones that we've already talked about?
It is. It is. It is, because this is a piece of property that we used to have control of. We didn't own this piece of property, but there's an opportunity possibly to either do a property exchange or maybe get a lease. There is an opportunity. I think it's incredibly important that we move forward on that. And I will tell you guys something else. That is probably the best site that we have in order to move forward on. But the other thing is if in fact we could get a couple of pieces of property, I think we should try to do
What site
that.
are you referring to?
I'm specifically
It's
talking.
really, I think that's that property or the properties down there, because we don't own them, I think right now we just need to, say, gosh, I hope we can get some property down there and see what's happening, if that's okay, Jason.
My understanding is the people that own that piece of property are interested potentially in selling that piece of property. And if they were, and there was developers that were interested, we own a piece of property that is very close to it, and if we could do some type of a property exchange or something, I think that would be a great thing to be able to do.
We can explore that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Develop community programs?
That one's rather vague.
Yeah, that's one of the ones that it would be good to know what that means to the board, because that one is pretty open-ended for us.
Okay, folks?
For me, it's more like just supporting the programs we have, making sure that, like you mentioned, the coaches, the volunteers, that they're appreciated, that they're supported. I have friends who have coached basketball, and so, you hear their comments and you want to make sure that they continue to coach.
Yeah.
So develop or maintain or support, however you want to word it, but for me, that's what it means.
The other thing that something that I think is really great, everybody at this table lives in Yamhill County, okay? And if I asked anybody in this room, how much do you love Yamhill County? We are so blessed to live here in Yamhill County. And we are all part of Chehalem Parks and Recreation. And you know what I'd like to see us do, whether we do it online, whether we have an online store, whether we have a storefront piece where somebody could come in and buy swag that says Chehalem Parks and Rec. I would really like to promote who we are. You know what, I think that we have something super special in Yamhill County here, and I think we should be promoting that, and that could be a way to produce some revenue that we otherwise wouldn't get. And the thing is, the great thing about that is if people are interested in those types of things, you are producing revenue from people who are interested in your products, and they're not being forced to spend money or being taxed or have their taxes being raised. But we have the opportunity to have somebody be able to buy sweatshirts, t-shirts, whatever, that have that on there. And I just think it's a great thing. I just think it's something that we should, at the very least, consider.
How many sweatshirts will we have to sell to buy a piece of property on the river?
I'm gonna say quite a few, but I will tell you, if we decide to go down this route, I will personally buy some, because I will tell you that I am incredibly proud to be part of Chehalem Parks and Rec, and I think, I truly believe that people that live in Yamhill County are incredibly proud of what we do and what we have to offer here. So, yeah, just an idea.
One of the other things that I think is, when you're talking about the development community programs, we have certain programs for certain people.
Senior.
But we can expand that out. So I thought that it was good to see the camps up at Crystal Riley, the environmental ed camps, and trying to get kids back close to nature and all that. I think that that's something that we've been lacking in the past. And so I think that's something our kids need to get out in the outdoors and learn about it. So from a programming standpoint, look at that. I think it's something that that would really help our communities. But anything else, folks?
Yeah, I just add, and it's kind of what I said earlier, and Brandon as well, is just reinforcing whatever programs we need to develop within what we're already doing, especially with our volunteers, our coaches, heavy on the youth sports side because we have so many volunteers in that area. But rebranding, recommunicating, revamping, and then allowing our staff to kind of have a little more freedom in how we make them part of the community. And maybe that's programming, maybe it's just focus groups, things outside of a citizen advisory panel. But I think there's just a lot that we can do that other districts do and have been doing pretty successfully. So
Yeah, I think an open house type thing, I think that would be good.
And really, to go on more with that, really support our volunteers, our coaches. And when I say that, I'm specifically talking about the swag that I'm talking about. Give them the referee shirts that say Chehalem Parks and Rec on it. I just think that it's incredibly important. They're doing it for free. They ought to, at the very least, get a shirt and a thank you.
It would be good to hear from the staff what they do already too. Because the board may not know.
Well, I will tell you, Julie had to leave at about 7.
Right, no, it's her husband's birthday, I get it.
Yep. So she would be the best one to answer on some of those ones, but we've been having some good, what I feel like are good productive conversations about ways that we can increase that engagement with coaches and making sure that all the communication isn't just coming from the league, because what we think is that the league leadership understands, but then there ends up being a gap. Because they're talking about the league and what the league's doing, they're not actually talking about CPRD. So we're trying to come up with ways to make sure the communication from us makes it to them, that they understand things like, if the volunteering they're doing, for example, to help contribute to the state of the ball fields where we could charge more, or we can have them contribute hours, that let them opt in. And if they're no longer satisfied with some of the hours that need to be put in by league volunteers, that's okay. But we're gonna have to charge more. But we also want them to understand the situation and be on board with it. And so if they don't know, then they're gonna feel abused. We wanna make sure they don't feel that way. So we're having some conversations about that. Happy to bring that up with the board too, to talk more about that. But something we've been aware, and these are helpful comments.
Okay, anything else from the board standpoint?
I do think, we've kind of gone through these goals. I think a couple things that have come up with themes that I think we should capture on here, maybe as new line items, would be something regarding fields. Just so it's on, we all said it, but just so it's on our strategic goals of, adding or developing fields to meet the needs of our youth sports or our community. I would suggest that. And then the other thing that's come up a few times is developing something for the bike riding community is a theme that has came up. Just so it's on paper and staff knows that, we support them in dedicating time to those things.
And some of those are on the what page number is that? The 2025 discussion, new or additional goals?
And those are things that I heard through this discussion, and what suggestion I might make, especially because at this point can't even tell what time it is, but it's getting later.
Let's call it.
Is I'm happy to take a crack at doing a draft on these. I will be happy to send my first iteration of what I've heard to the board members individually, not as a group. And you can individually send responses back to me if you would like, and then I will put it on the board, and you all can have a look and tell me if I got it wrong or right.
Or would you like the board members individually to send their thoughts on these to you and maybe rate them?
Like a rating exercise?
Yeah,
Like a
or
scoring?
they say, this is my first priority, second priority, third priority, or not. If you don't, that's fine. But again, I don't want to give the staff more work than they need.
I'm gonna. I feel like that would turn into an exercise all by itself to interpret those.
Okay.
To me, I'm not looking to do a make work exercise. I want to take this, try and update it to what I've heard this evening into something that seems palatable to the group, and to bring it up. And people can send it back. I'll integrate those comments that I can. I might hold back on those that I don't feel like I can really do, or they don't feel like they've got a place from what I'm seeing. And then I'll just bring that back in a board meeting. And that lets us continue this, and maybe not next month, but the month after.
You know, unfortunately, I just came in here midway stream.
I'm talking about you, by the way.
That's wonderful. So I think what I walked in on is you wanted to know what our number one, what is the number one goal of us and a rating system?
No, Clay's just going to compile.
He's gonna.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was making a suggestion that I basically try and take the comments that I've heard based on what we have
Yes.
here this evening.
Uh-huh.
And then I do a first draft. I'm like, all right, this is what I think I heard for an update from the group as a whole. So you guys can give me your comments. It'll be sent to you each individually, not as a group. Then you can send me your comments back if you have any. You can just give me a thumbs up. That's fine. And then once I get those, I'll bring that to the board as a group. And if it all looks good, because it didn't change much, fine. If there's something to hash out, then we can do that too.
Well, I got a question for you. So
Sure.
if we were to look through your list of what you compiled as specific projects, and we just asked every single person that's on here, because we can do this, we're all sitting here.
Yep.
And we just said, Brandon, what is your number one thing? What is the most important thing to you? And then we just went down the line and we just said, okay,
We can do that.
out of the list of the items, I mean, because we can do this right now and get it done.
Yep.
And this is very simple. So Brandon, what is the number
You know,
one?
I don't know if I'm interested in doing that yet,
Really?
because I don't know if these guys have looked at it enough. They could probably give that to the Clay and go from there. What do you guys think? Just
Yeah, I
have a
agree,
discussion.
and I think if we start going down a list of 12 things, we're looking at 10:30.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Well, it's only 9 right now.
it'll be an hour and a half, trust me.
Okay.
So this means it's another meeting away.
It's another. What I would suggest is if I can get it by August, I will.
Okay.
But it might be the September meeting. But that's still okay. We've never published, as far as I know, we haven't been publishing our strategic goals for the public.
No.
The main objective of this meeting was to have you five talk to each other
Got it.
as a work session to make sure there are not any wild discrepancies, that the goalposts aren't going to move on staff. And I don't feel like that's going to happen. I feel
It's
like
an internal
there's
temperature reading.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a temperature
Okay.
read, and also making sure that you all start off with new members, welcome, to have a good, productive working relationship, and frankly, one that's not going to give staff whiplash. And I don't feel like that's going to happen. I've heard a good conversation, and I really want all of you to know how much I appreciate it.
Great conversation, a new board. Unless there's something else with that.
Yeah, I just want to say how excited I am to have Brandon, both you guys, okay, on this board, and newcomer Jim here. I'm really excited about having you guys on this board. I'm real excited about what we can get done here in the next 2 years, working together, truly.
Likewise.
Okay.
I think we can get a lot done.
With that said, we are adjourned.
All right.
August 28th.
Good night, buddy.
He's in a quiz.